call this meeting to order for Verona Borough Council regular meeting Tuesday, December 8th, 2020. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag,
Allegiance
of America,
flag,
republic for which it stands,
United
one
States
nation
States of
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Kenna. You're muted, Jerry.
I've just joined.
Okay, great.
All right. I'm using my phone because my computer's not working right. I'll try to get into my phone or onto the computer. The roll call.
All right, Pat, I called the meeting to order and we've done the Pledge of Allegiance and we're about to do roll call.
Okay, thank you.
McCarthy,
Present.
Dr. Carpenter,
Present.
Mr. Forbeck,
Present.
Ms. Loalbo,
Present.
Mr. Matlin,
Present.
Ms. Provenza,
Present.
Mr. Suchovich,
Present.
Mayor Recupero,
Present.
Mr. Alexander, Mr. Pitch.
Present.
I am also here. Mr. President, I have a few comments before we start with the registered comments, if you don't mind.
Go right ahead.
As you all know, I've been working as a contractor for Verona Borough in some capacity since 2013. At first, I was hired as an accountant, then promoted to treasurer, and finally as manager in 2016. During that time, the borough has transformed in several ways. Financially, this transformation has been staggering. When I started, the borough had over $100,000 worth of unsecured debt, very little financial reporting, and the budgets and audits were pretty much made up. At meetings, council members would make motions to pay bills with discretion because there wasn't always money in the account. Payrolls nearly missed. Shut-off notices at the borough building and fire department were an unfortunate yet common occurrence. Fast forward to December of 2020, and Verona Borough has hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, no debt besides the remaining balance of a fire truck placed into service in 2018, and the idea of a shut-off notice or late payment is a thing of the past. Streets that were neglected for decades are being repaved. Parks are being improved. New businesses are moving to town, and home prices continue to increase in value. To some of you, I'm just a guy from Oakmont that works here part-time. In reality, I'm much more than that. Yes, I grew up in Oakmont, but I have family in both communities and have since the early 1900s. We go way back. So when I was presented an opportunity to get involved with the borough, it was much more than just a way to make money. It was a chance to give back, make a difference in my community. During my time here, roads have been replaced, miles of sewers repaired. The borough has made the news, some good, sometimes bad, but I was always there. We've had floods and a pandemic, and I was always there. Whether you'd like to admit it or not, I've placed Verona Borough ahead of my business and my family on countless occasions, and I'm proud of what I've accomplished in the past 7 years. This evening, I've decided to announce my resignation as Verona Borough Manager effective January 30th, 2021. I hope this council keeps working to move this borough in the right direction. You need more new business. You need people to continue to buy homes and invest money in your community. You need to continue the hard work of rehabilitating the aging infrastructure in your borough. These are the priorities that will allow you to have the budget for the other projects being presented to you. Without the necessary infrastructure repair, the rest of it will be for nothing. I'd also like to express my disappointment in the way that these meetings have been conducted recently. An unfortunate side effect of virtual meetings via Zoom is that simple human decency seems to be completely out the window. Instead of neighbors speaking to neighbors, these meetings have been reduced to condescending bitching and fighting between members of the public and the council. I remind you that you're all neighbors and you're here for the same reason, for the continued improvement of your borough. So instead of taking your opportunity to throw a shot, have some respect. You'll get a lot further. Finally, I'd like to thank the employees of this borough, administrative, public works, and of course, the police department. I hope the council and the public understand the tremendous amount of work that goes into the day-to-day operations of this community. Without the men and women that come to work here every day, this town will fall apart. Let me go on record and say, you need them much more than they need you. Mr. President, at this time, I'd like you to accept my letter of resignation as Verona Borough Manager. I would also like to request council to continue working for the borough as the treasurer. I've presented my proposal to council and the mayor. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Well, it's with regret that I accept it. And I will make a vote and propose that council accepts your resignation as you have requested, only because of you. And that we keep you on as treasurer at the agreed upon price. I think it is $24,000. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm making a motion. I need a second.
What's the motion?
The
I'll
motion is
second that motion.
the motion is to accept Mr. Kenna's resignation at this time and to continue him as treasurer for the borough for the 2021 year. And it's with regret, but I will do his wishes. Mr. Suchovich seconded. Are there
With
any other
regret.
questions?
With regret also.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, I have another question. I'm not clear exactly what staying on in treasure precisely includes.
It includes what I discussed during my presentation to you. I will continue to pay all the bills, handle all the finances, present monthly reports to council, work with the auditors, and prepare a budget.
Okay, I'm not sure that I agree with the budget part.
Are there any other questions?
And this is effective when?
January 30th, 2021.
Are we going to allow public comment before voting on this?
If you want, we can do that.
Well, it's not on the agenda, so you can do it one of two ways. You can open it up now for public comment, or you can hold the motion until after public comment to allow the public to comment on all agenda items and just include this as an added on agenda item.
I'd like to hold the motion and allow the public comment to go as originally scheduled, and then we can come back to it.
All right, we will do that.
So we have hang on, let me look at my agenda here.
It looks like 12 different individuals.
There's registered comments next. And then
Well,
comments on agenda items. You can flip those if you want to and do public comment on agenda items first, followed by registered comments, if that helps.
Let's do that so that we can move us along. Let's do the comments on the agenda item here of Mr. McKenna's
All
resignation.
agenda items. You're doing comment on all agenda items, including this.
And well, I was going to say on this and any other agenda items.
I don't see any hands.
I see one. Kimberly Roller.
Kimberly Roller. Go ahead, Kimberly.
So, thank you. So this, Kimberly Roller, 853 First Street, you guys have heard from me before. I'm the Sassy Ginger on First. This is all comments as well as the just previous. So I would like correct?
This is
Comments
all-
on agenda items only.
Comments on agenda items. only.
Items, yes.
Okay,
As
so
well-
I have, go ahead, sorry, Nancy.
No, agenda items as well as this particular topic of Jerry's resignation.
Perfect. So I just want to be clear. I was reading over the budget and I'm looking at the First Street. I think it's item 430740, major expenditures under Public Works. I had asked this in the previous meeting and I did not get a response. That was in the last study session. What are the plans for First Street? Will we be repairing the brick or paving over? As you are all aware, First Street is where our school, Verona Elementary, resides and where our children are playing, crossing the street and walking to school every morning. Speed on this street can occasionally be an issue, even with our current pothole and sinkage issues on that street. I would like some answers regarding the speed mitigation measures that the borough has in plans for that particular street. Should the plan be to pave? Naturally, the bricks provide some form of natural, speed mitigation, and paving that is not going to solve that issue. I understand that historically the borough is against things like speed humps and other physical mitigation efforts, but I would like to open the conversation with you guys to ensure that our children are safe as we plan for First Street improvements, understanding what's going on. So that's my first comment. The second comment, Mr. Kenna, I'm sorry to hear that you are resigning as borough manager. I didn't get to know you, as well as I had hoped. Obviously working together for a little while, but I do want to express some serious concern over the fact that we just combined both a resignation of somebody's current duties as well as a pay raise. So those are two separate items, and I want to be very clear. I've served on boards. I understand how these things work. Mr. Kenna resigned. First, accept. You either accept or deny his resignation. Secondly, then you can accept or deny his pay raise that he just provided to the borough for said services. And I want you guys to be very clear on how you are voting today. As you're probably going to be hearing from very vocal members of your community this evening. While not everybody's going to be vocal tonight, your actions today will have repercussions that will affect your community, your neighbors, and they're going to hear about it. And again, I would urge you to do what is right for our borough with transparency, compassion, and a care for the place where we all call home.
Acknowledge that. First of all, I did not ask for it to be one motion. It can be two separate motions. I'm not really concerned about that. First of all. Second of all, it is not a pay increase. I'm staying on as treasurer. The treasurer fee that I have proposed is both reasonable and competitive. I am not asking for an absorbent amount of money. I am doing a tremendous amount of work to be the treasurer of your community. I invite you to look at budgets of the surrounding communities. You will not find any community that is going to have the amount of work that I've proposed done for less money.
Sure, Mr. Kenna, I would like to kind of interject on that particular thing if you would like to talk about that. There were clear performance issues that occurred in 2020 that I will outline. One very specific one that a lot of people on this call tonight have an issue with. That being, the borough purchased a police car without appropriate discussion from this council, confirmation from our mayor, Mr. Recupero. And to be perfectly honest with you, the person who's in charge of the police department, which is Mr. Recupero. Secondly, was this purchase made by Mr. Kenna as our accountant or Mr. Kenna as our part-time borough manager? Either of these roles, sir, failed their entire community in their duties on the purchase of this particular item. The purchase of this police car was a grave oversight, and it was an unacceptable usage of our community's tax dollars. And that lack of transparency on this purchase has set a dangerous precedent for 2021, which is, I think, why we need a full-time borough manager, sir. Thank you very much for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
Next is Rhoda or Dawn Wharf.
Can you hear me? I feel
Yes,
like a Verizon commercial. Okay, now I sort of misunderstood what you guys were saying. Craig, you started saying something that we're gonna do our thing at the end. Like, what are you talking about?
no, we're going to do public comment on agenda items.
Oh,
And,
okay, so that's a budget. Okay, good. Okay, good.
and with the fact that Mr. Kennedy submitted his resignation, if you want to
Sure.
comment on that agenda item that was not on there.
So all
Okay.
agenda items, including the one that was added on, is what we're doing right now. Then we're
Okay,
going to go to registered comments.
Okay, fabulous. Okay. Rhoda Wharf, 636 3rd Street, Verona. Before I go into my questions that we had submitted to Jerry, I'd like to say something really quick. First of all, I wanted to emphasize that the asking of questions that the residents of Verona have to the council and manager should be welcomed and appreciated, showing that we, the residents, are concerned and involved in Verona's present and future. This is by no means an act that should be taken personally. You, the council, are an elected board of individuals who chose to run for office to preserve our safe, family-oriented, growing community and to keeping in mind the best interests for the people. You should be focused on Verona's progress, transparency, vitality, sustainability, stability, and fiscal responsibility. There is no allowance for personal agendas. Now, with that being said, I have my questions here, Jerry. You had asked, or you had answered the one about the local service tax, and that used to be called the occupational tax. So thank you for explaining that. Now, the licensing fees you have, I'm confused on that. Business and amusement, I know those are the machines that different bars had or businesses, and then the alcoholic beverage licenses. Now, are they all different, or like the amusement? I know, okay. If I'm not mistaken, David Recupero, didn't the police go around doing that, and everybody received a sticker that they had to put on their amusement devices years ago?
Yes, the police went into the bars and the clubs to make sure they had their yearly sticker on and to give them basically a bill for the amusement devices that they had in their establishment.
Now, I'm assuming we're logging all this information because there was nothing collected in 2018. So I found that a little odd.
That's on the police reports every month, Rhoda.
About the amusement licenses
Right.
Fees?
Yes,
Oh, I must have
Yes.
missed it.
it's
Okay, I
there
must have
every
missed it.
month, and it gives the previous year and this year's.
Mr. President, if I may, can we
Go ahead.
allow the public to give their comment before we respond? There's no way to
Okay.
keep track of the time frame if we go back and forth.
I agree. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
Okay, so, well, I'm glad that we're answering these questions. Highway aid revenue, you said that was liquid fuels money? Jerry?
What Craig just said, Rhoda,
Oh.
all the questions will be answered at the end.
Well, oh, all right.
No, I meant at the end of your comments.
Oh, okay. Okay. I know that years ago, we used to receive a stipend from the state because our streets crew used to snowplow ARB up to the plaza and where the pylons are. And I thought that might have been what you referred to highway revenue. I thought that might have been included, but evidently you told me that was liquid fuel. So I didn't see a stipend specifically saying snow plowing in the budget. So I'm questioning that. And also, I don't know what you have, Jerry, we get a stipend for the sewage usage from 360 homes from Penn Hills. And I don't know what that would have been under. Because we usually collect it at the beginning of the year, or we used to anyway, I'm not sure how it's done now. But, and then going back, you had said about you were still going to maintain, I'm jumping here around. You were saying about you're going to still do your treasurer report or your treasurer work, but are you also going to be doing payroll with the 24,000?
Contract with my company.
Okay. We're not going to answer that. Okay, so rounding everything up here, I'm just, my personal input here, I'm going to encourage the council to finish their job description for a manager, get it advertised by the year's end, and we need to quit hauling around and hire a full-time experienced qualified manager. I think that's going to be great. Thank you for listening.
Some of your questions, Rhoda, the highway aid is the liquid fuels money. I'm not
Okay.
aware of any. We have an agreement with PennDOT to maintain the roads as far as snow plowing. As far as fees received, I'm not sure what you're referring to. As far as the $18,000 that we received from Penn Hills, that is part of the sewer rental revenue revenue that's in your budget.
Okay. And David, okay. And who's going to be doing payroll? When you said you're going to still do the financials, are you going to include that to your 24,000?
Not, that is a separate agreement with the borough.
Oh, okay. So you're going to charge extra for that.
Sure, for paychecks to do it.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. I think we had those before anyway, that company before.
Wait a
thank you so
minute.
much. Yeah.
I thought we stopped using paychecks and we started using Landmark Business Solutions for payroll last year. So I'm confused by that.
Jerry, I hate to interject. We're having a hard time hearing you. You're a delay coming in and talking.
I don't know why. I don't know if I have a bad connection here or not.
I
It's good now.
got earphones, but they're not even working too, but I'm getting it.
So is Paychex doing our payroll or Landmark Business Solutions doing our payroll?
Council and Finance Committee last year made the decision to change it to me.
Right. So when you're saying you're gonna do the treasurer duties, that's for 24,000, and then doing the payroll is another 6,000. So actually you'd be working for the borough for a total of $30,000.
If that's what council wants, if not, then I won't.
Okay,
So that's your decision to make.
yeah, something we have to talk about.
I have a question for Rhoda, or an answer for Rhoda, actually. On the snow removal, the borough does get money from PennDOT. I believe it's $2,400, but we do not go all the way down to the shopping plaza. We go from the turn off at James Street, make a left onto Allegheny River Boulevard to they usually go to Plum Street, and then we usually go to Daly's, but both boroughs, we share the viaduct, a lot of times. But we do not go all the way down to the shopping center. I know that for a fact because our business does Allegheny River Boulevard. We're subcontractors with the state.
Next is Laura Jacko.
Hi, I'm sorry. I think I got a little confused. I had like a registered comment, but I guess wanted to make sure it wasn't skipped over. So this is my registered comment. If you guys want to do me later, that's okay too. So just let me know if I came in at the wrong time.
Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'll take that as an okay. Okay, me, 437 North. I just had a quick question on the budget when we were going over it. I noticed that, and Jerry had answered this question, but I kind of wanted to bring the answer to the attention of council because I don't think it's correct. The money that we're paying to Mark Stanton for doing code enforcement, it looked like in the budget was significantly reduced. And it looks like that's just, you know, because Mark wants to cut back on doing it, which I understand it must be a very stressful thing to do. And he's even expressed to me that it's, you know, he's thoroughly overwhelmed and it's very, you know, stressful. But it seems to me then that we should be looking into getting help for that position, correct? Because, you know, I would imagine that if it's so much for him that it's overwhelming, that as it is, he needs more help, not just reduced hours, but the same amount of a workload. So I don't quite understand why we would have less money in there. If anything, we would maybe have more if we need to hire on additional assistants in addition to the person who's already here. So I would like to see some discussion about that because like I said, even Mark has told me that he's got too much to do. So it's very, very clear to me that this position is just not adequately being funded right now. And it has nothing to do with him. It's more that the position is not adequately funded for the amount of hours that are needed to do what has to be done for our community. So I'd like to have, you know, and I don't even really need an answer on that right now. I would like you all to discuss it and to see that be raised and see what people's plans are for getting help from Mark. And I do agree with the comment before on Jerry's resignation and then how much gets paid to Landmark for the various items. This, you know, those are two separate things and should be, you know, voted on separately. And I'm still learning a lot about how all this works, but I'm also wondering if maybe, you know, like large budget items, I think usually go out to bid too. So I don't know if that's something that it needs to be considered or not. I don't really, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not how that works. But you know, I'm glad to hear all the discussion. I think everybody's on the right track as to kind of how to move forward. And I do appreciate that Jerry took the time to answer some very copious questions that some of us had earlier this week. So thank you. That is it.
Thank you.
Rhea Homa.
Hello, Rhea Homa, 742 Brunot Street. Mr. Kenna, I appreciate your well wishes and I wish the same upon you. Thank you for your service. I'd like to address two items on the budget. First, I'd like to revisit my question from last month's workshop meeting. I brought up line 402-312 about accountant services. I asked why the accounting services doubled from $12,000 to $24,000 between 2020 and 2021. Through email, Mr. Kenna, you explained that the numbers you provided for the borough manager position in accounting services, which are paid to his accounting company, are, quote, arbitrary numbers. And he explained that the new proposal is a more accurate cost for accounting services than previous years. I'm not here to fight about whether 24,000 is a proper accounting figure. But what I do want to express is that I find it surprising that an accountant from an accounting company didn't actually break down their work in previous years to make sure that the bid was fair for both parties, the accountant as well as the borough. As for the cost laid out for these services, accounting, like all services, should go through a bidding process, please, so we know that we are providing a fair payment. Unfortunately, this has not been completed with Mr. Kenna's company. I also have a follow-up question regarding line 410-110, full-time borough manager position. I understand that hiring a full-time borough manager takes a decent amount of time and we're getting very near to the end of the year. However, I have not seen any advertisements for the position and I was wondering if it has been posted yet. And depending on the answer I have, may have a follow-up.
No, it has not been posted because there were some other things taking place that we thought we didn't to work on it, but no, it has not been.
I see. Okay. Do you have any plans to expedite this process?
Yes, we will.
Okay, wonderful. And will we have a clear and real contract with the new manager?
Yes.
That is also good news. Okay, thank you. Mr. Kenna, I appreciate the financial work that you provided to Verona, and I appreciate your well wishes. As for Verona, I am thankful and excited that we are in a different position. I am ready for a borough manager that is well-versed in all aspects of being a borough manager, financial, executive, and administrative responsibilities. I have a very positive outlook for the future of Verona. Thank you.
Next is Trish Showalter.
Good evening, Council. Trish Rodzak Showalter, 440 North Avenue. I want to start by also thanking Jerry for all he's done for the Borough of Verona, especially from getting our past financial messes cleaned up and getting us to our present state. I want to reiterate that while we enthusiastically ask many questions, we hope that they're not taken as a criticism of your work. And again, we are grateful for all that you've done for Verona. I do want to echo what Laura and Rhea and perhaps others have said regarding the treasurer fee. Being a scientist, maybe it's just my data-minded sense, but Mr. Kenna did state that his services were reasonable and competitive. I don't doubt that, but I would ask for any bid equaling this amount, even less, that we pursue some quotes in order to make sure that it's a fair comparison. So I'd like to respectfully ask that before council is to vote on this, that they review at least 2 other similar requests and share those with the public as well. I also sent an email to Mr. Kenna thanking him for his detailed reply to our numerous budgetary questions. I did have a clarification question regarding 454-740. That's major expenditures totaling $2,006,000, which would include, among many other things, the acquisition of the 2 vacant lots, the first one being the community garden, and the second one being procuring the land that the borough is currently illegally depositing clean fill and yard waste onto. In the interest of time, you don't have to give me the breakdown now, but I'd like to respectfully request that before this budget is voted on, that you share the breakdown of this major expenditures category with the public as well. Regarding one of my other questions, electric, water, and sewage for the park, Mr. Kenna commented that the amount for this is very small, so it's not something you would normally consider in a budget this large. But I might suggest that moving forward, in the interest of getting things as accurate as possible, perhaps instead of having $0, we put in our best estimate. Also, I don't want to take away from anything Janet might include in her report, but recently we did discuss having the porta-johns available, at least at Riverbank Park, the entire year, and certainly throughout the summer months as well. So I'm hoping that that major expenditures category does include service of the porta-john, at least at Riverbank Park, for the duration of all of next year. I'd like to close by thanking Jerry once again, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
I think next is Jen Marasco.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Jen Marasco, Coon, 455 North Avenue. Gary, you threw me off with your resignation. I had a whole speech written up, and we just want to thank you for your service. You have taken Verona out of a very precarious financial state, and with the community and the borough, we've grown, and we're very excited for what is in store for the future of Verona. I do agree with what has been said before by my fellow community members. There should be a vote on Jerry's resignation as well as the fee for Jerry's services. And I'm a social worker. I work with government agencies in the past. There was always requests for proposals for services. So it was a fair shake, and you could see the comparisons in what services were going to be given to the agencies. So I do agree with other comments on that should be done for transparency. And if what Mr. Kenna is saying that it is a good deal, then we will continue on with his services. I do just want to thank everyone for their time and appreciate your service.
I believe Dan Showalter is next.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mr. Kenna for his service as the borough manager. From what I do understand, in the past, the borough was actually in a pretty rough situation, and financially, you did pull us out of a significant hole. So I would like to say thank you very much on that particular front. In the interest of transparency, we probably should have multiple bids for the treasurer position. But I would like to personally say that all things being equal, if everything comes in generally the same, that Mr. Kenna actually probably would be a good guy to keep on as our treasurer. he did do a good job at that position. So you can't deny when somebody's done a good job at a specific thing. Going into very specific comments, in the budget, we have a particular section about seizures during a drug bust, essentially. I don't know if the borough actually gets any monies from a particular drug bust, or if that just goes to Allegheny County overall. But if we do, I would like to suggest that possibly we would hold that kind of monies in reserve and use that as a bonus for our police officers at the end of the year. A little extra something for the holidays.
Nice.
Now, regarding the overall comprehensive plan, on the budget from year 2017 through 2019, the borough spent approximately $34,000 on a comprehensive plan. I have contacted Town Center Associates and still waiting for a reply from them. But my question is, Jerry, do we have anything resembling a comprehensive plan for the $34,000 that we spent? Do we have half of a plan? Because from what I understand, the general amount it takes for a comprehensive plan to be put together is $50,000. Am I correct about that, Mike, or am I speaking out of hand?
Well, that was one quote we had, right?
Okay. So that $34,000 that we spent over 3 years prior to Mike being elected, I was just wondering, do we have anything? Do we have half a comprehensive plan? Do we have a sheet of paper? Do we have anything to show for that monies?
Is that all your comments? I'll go through and answer a couple of them. Dan.
For me, yes, that would be just about it. Thank you.
As far as the seizure money, we sometimes receive that. I think the chief during his report can probably reiterate, or probably President McCarthy with his law enforcement background on how that works. If we receive anything, it takes a tremendous amount of time. The amount we receive is from the feds. If the seizure is from the state or district attorney level, that money goes to those offices. If it's a federal drug seizure, we would receive a possible percentage of that. That percentage could be 3%, it could be 10%. It takes a long time for that to happen. The other thing too is that the feds make it, there's rules on what we're allowed to use that money for. That money has to go toward drug enforcement of some sort. So I can't answer whether or not a bonus for the police officers would qualify. In the past, we were able to upgrade our vehicle to a Tahoe that year as part of that drug seizure money because that was going to be considered an allowable use of it. But I would let the chief or the president to reiterate on those rules. As far as Dan, what was the other question? Oh, the comprehensive plan.
Town Center Associates, from 2017 to 2019, we spent approximately $34,000 on a comprehensive plan, and just wondering if we have anything to show for it.
Center was hired actually before I started as manager to do planning based around the core business district. It was a multiple year contract that was ended in 2019 because of a lack of what we felt was a sufficient value. They weren't presenting, they did not give us any sort of comprehensive plan. I wasn't around to sign that, so I don't know if that was ever really the objective or if it was for basically other planning around that. I don't really know, but that's why we haven't paid them since 2019, and they're not on the budget going forward. Looks like Joey.
Wait,
Warren.
let me answer Dan's question on the seizures so that that's resolved. Under Pennsylvania statute for seizures, all money seized in drug cases go either to the district attorney or the state attorney general's office. It is then used for drug enforcement. No local police departments get any of that money given back directly to them. Under the federal system, if a local police department is involved in a federal case, they file a form with the U.S. Marshal Service. The U.S. Marshal Service, once they get all the forms in, then review those forms, and the police departments put in a percentage that they would like. The U.S. Marshals review those forms. They determine the final amount of money that is seized, and then they determine the percentage that that police department participated in the investigation, and then they get a percentage sent back to them, and that money is for drug enforcement as well, and for the police department. You cannot use it to give personal bonuses to police officers in either case. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. And it looks like the final person is Joey Warren. Go, Joey.
Thank you. I have a couple of things I wanted to have for the agenda discussion tonight, and then for the new business. I also want to make a couple of remarks. First of all, for the budget process, I just want to share how difficult it was for me to get public information of the budget, not in the PDF form, but in the original Excel form, and how difficult and how I had to ask 3 times and had no response from council when it was brought in from the borough manager for me to simply get public information, for me to receive, for me to go through as a resident, and for me to raise questions if I should have questions. I think that process, and I still have not heard from council members through the email chain, but it seems that many of the people on council defer to the borough manager as an 8th member of council. That's not his role. It's not his responsibility. He works at the will of you, and you work at the will of us. I think it'll be best understood if people maybe realign and find out what their true role is for them to do their job right. That is just for me to tee up a couple of things I want to bring up with the budget. But before I do that, not only that, but over the past few months, just after this evening, just kind of wrap this up into one spot, but the tone and demeanor that you bring to some of these meetings, borough manager, I think might be matched by some of your remarks. I think that in recent months with some of the eye rolls you have, the just you have when challenged, which is off-putting, the stance when ever asked any question, that you are immediately in the defense. I think that's a true reflection of sometimes how you operate. When I wanted to know if I could have the Excel sheet, because I wanted to truly audit what the budget was. And anyone that does anything that has to do with finance knows that you can run formulas, you can sort by keywords. And as I did take a look at the budget that I finally got on Friday, after a couple of days of no response other than no, you can't have it, you can use the PDF, I made it available. There's over $100,000 in miscellaneous and other expenditures, which I think is a telltale sign of either, well, a couple of things. Either the people who are supposed to have taken a look at this, who are going to be voting on it, or the preparer. Where? If you have over $100,000 worth of miscellaneous and other, I think that's an issue. That should be a red flag. I understand that, there's a number of things I have questions on, but I don't know it's a drop in the bucket for you guys or not, but for over $11,000 for cell phones I don't know who has cell phones with the borough. The $100,000 in miscellaneous and other costs. What I find to be confusing too is as I take a look at this, it is very confusing because I'm not sure if we employ a business or if we employ a person. President, to use your words, you started after, I don't know if it was a resignation or an audition or if he was applying for a job or what it was, but it ended with an insult to the community. But you said it was his wishes. It's not his wishes. He might offer something, but we don't do things at the wishes of an employee. Council. And this is something I think should be taken more seriously and with a fine-tooth comb for things that have to roll up to a $3 million budget. some of the things that I heard tonight, I think were an unfortunate use of words. And like I said, I wasn't sure if it was a resignation. I'm not sure if it was, there was an offer to stay. Then there was an insult. I mean, for someone that just asked for us to spend $30,000 for them next year, they resigned. They applied for a position that's not even been posted yet, I guess, unless they budgeted it for themselves. But then you said that we've been reduced to bitching and we throw a shot when asked. Like this is not how we work. I'm a resident. I pay taxes. I volunteer. I have a full-time job. And yes, I do review things. Yes, I do bring things to the attention of our elected officials. But to say that we've been reduced to bitching, I could not understand that it would make sense for anyone on this council to hear what they heard tonight and then to rehire somebody with the tone and demeanor that's not only gone on for months, but in a letter of resignation to offer that we pay them 30. I don't know if it's the person or the business still. I mean, this is the most confusing part to me. When I take a look at the budget, you have a borough manager, you have other admin, you have an assistant borough secretary, you have a receptionist, there's a payroll service, there's auditing service, there's accountant services, and we still don't have a full-time manager with that list of people. And I don't know what's a person. I don't know what's a paycheck to a company. I don't know where it's been blended together. And to be honest, I'm going to guess and say that's why the Excel sheet with a $3 million budget is why I didn't get it after my first ask, my second ask, and I had to wait to get it again. And for those of you that are on the finance committee, ask a couple of questions. Ray, Nancy, and Mike, whose recommendation was it to pursue the option that we heard tonight? I don't know if this is the first you've heard of, but it's in our budget. So I'd like to know whose suggestion it was to place these salaries at the amounts they're at. I'd also like to know when the finance committee last met on this. I guess this would be questions and also comment. I don't know if I'm going to get an answer at this moment. I know that you had said that you'd like to have comments made first by individuals and then you'd address them. I would like to also say one more thing with, the circumstances we were in 2013. I'm not sure who's on council now that was on council then that Jerry was saying that you didn't have your stuff together. But for anyone that's still here, I don't think we owe favors to anyone. I don't think we have to grant any wishes to anyone. And you know what, as we do grow and have more businesses, families, we have more earned income taxes, our real estate values go up. I'm not counting on you as a resident to bank our money and pay other people. I'd like you to reinvest it. I'd like you to use it. It's not impressive to me that you're not spending dollars that I'm giving to you. And when you do, I don't like to see them spread out to 7 different people as a salary. You don't know who's who or what's what or what's a business or what's a person. So I would say that you have a lot of reviewing to do. I would say that you have a lot of math to do. And I will also share with you, I went through with a fine-tooth comb. I've done 2 terms as a council person in another community. And for anyone that is going to vote on this, I would ask that you say it very confidently, or you ask some really hard-hitting questions this evening after public comments are done, because I have a list of 33 questions I'd like to have answered. And I think about 15 of them I've checked off. So with due diligence, I'd like to leave my comments with that. Well wishes to whoever's moving forward or staying. I'm not sure what's going on. And thank you for allowing me to speak during public comment.
Thank you, Joey. Listen, I'd like to answer a couple questions real quick. Yes, when we saw the budget, that's the first as a member of the finance committee that I had heard of it. We looked at it and reviewed it and talked about it. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the whole thing. I keep bringing up various aspects of it. I won't go into all that right this second. And the last time that we met, and the only time that we met, was on November 18th to go over the budget once it was written and presented to council on the 10th of November. I also want to mention, Jerry, Rhoda and Dawn, they have their hand up again, but I think it's because Dawn wants to talk this time. Rhoda talked the last time. Go ahead, Don.
Okay, can you hear me? I'd like to
say your name.
My name's Don Worf, 636 3rd Avenue, and these questions are concerning the revenue for the newsletter and the expenses for the newsletter. Looking at the entries for 2017, 18, and 19, the amounts that the newsletter revenue brought in is greater than the expenses. According to the newsletter expenses, they're much lower than the income that was brought in. My question is, what happened to the excess money? If this is correct, what happened to the excess money? And I guess I'm directing that to the borough manager.
Is that your only question, Don?
No, I have another question. Oh, I'm sorry, I have another question. In response to one of the questions, Jerry stated that he doesn't recall the newsletter staff ever requesting requests for bills and information. Well, I happen to have a letter here dated April 19th, 2020 from Angela Acapini, addressed to Jerry, which was never returned. He never returned a response to Angela. So this is one of several attempts that she said she made to get information about the budget, about the income and so on, and was never contacted. Another item here is the September 2020 September collected year-to-date income for the newsletter. As an entry, Jerry, you have $6,300. Well, there's 4 quarters that we collect, and one of those 4 quarters this year, we did not collect any money at all. And I don't understand why it's $6,300 shown here, when it should be much less than that, since one of the quarters was not collected. It should be a little bit less than that. And lastly, I'd like to know why traditionally we always had $6,000 set aside for contingency in case an emergency such as the COVID virus this year happened. We had $6,000 set aside, borough money. This year you propose to lower that to $4,000. I don't quite understand why. These figures just don't seem to match up at all for me, and I'd like to get an explanation. Thank you.
To 4,000. If you look at line item 401,344 under the expenditures, it's still $6,000. It's been $6,000 for as long as I've been here. The amount that's $4,000 was the expected revenue. The expected revenue that we've received, that we will receive from the newsletter, money that we've raised from the newsletter. That has always been budgeted. It was budgeted last year at $4,000 and it stayed at $4,000. I did not change any of that. As far as a letter from Angela, I missed it. I apologize. I've admitted the fact that I've missed things like that, and that has been a challenge of mine. And I apologize. I'm not sure what else I can offer there. I did not change any of the budget numbers for the newsletter.
I just would like to make a clarification as I understand this question. I think that, now, again, this is a question of mine that pertains to the question that was just asked. Money comes in that is given by the newsletter committee through Angela to the borough, and then money for the bills for the newsletter is paid by the borough. Is that correct? Is that correct, Jerry? I couldn't hear you. Yes, okay, I can't hear you, but anyway. That being the case, I'm thinking that the question that was being asked was that there is more money that comes in by the ads and everything else from the newsletter than goes out that's paid for bills, for the newsletter, the printing and so on. And the question, as I understand it, was the difference between those two, what happens to that money? And I can't see Donald. I don't know if that's correct. He's got his hand up again, maybe to verify if I'm saying that correctly, but I think that's a question that he's asking.
So like any other account, these budgets start at zero. Every year it starts back at zero. Whether council wants to create a reserve account for the newsletter, then that's fine. I mean, that's not up to me. That's up to council. But every account on this budget starts at zero at the beginning of the year. So I agree, and the newsletter team consistently raises more money to do with that money going forward is up to council, not me.
Where has it been going though? Does it just go, I mean, where does it show up on our reports?
Capital reserve. Your financials reports are not accumulation of year over year. They are the
I
current year.
understand that. I get it. I understand. Yes.
Be considered like capital reserve.
Are you talking about the cash reserve?
Held back over. It's the fact that there's, if you look at this year's numbers, there's significantly more money in our bank account than what your revenues left from this year are. It's because of money that was saved over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the bank.
And that's the cash reserve that we used, like, for instance, to help pay for 2nd Street.
Correct.
Okay. I don't know. Dawn and Rhoda have their hand up. It may just be something for clarification why they're putting their hand up.
So they may just have it up still.
No, I think it was down. It's back up, but let's see.
Okay, I'd like to say that this is not tax money. This is purchased money for ads in a newsletter that the borough helps support, but it's not tax money. And you should use that revenue for other expenses that the borough incurs. That should be illegal if you ask me.
That it's not tax money and that money is donated to be earmarked as a
Not
newsletter.
donated, it's purchased money for ads, and it's for the support of the newsletter, publishing of the newsletter. And it's not tax money, and it shouldn't be allotted for other tax purposes. And it has been for the last 3 years. I think that's wrong. Any response?
I'm sorry, Don. I don't know how to answer your question.
Pretty straightforward.
Gary's
Yes,
trying to
no.
answer.
Pardon me?
I don't really have an answer. I don't disagree with you, Don.
All right. Thank you.
Jerry, could that just be left in our fund? And then if we would run short, we can go to that. I mean, to this point, we have not run short. I have never touched any of the money that has been allotted. I know we have an allotment of $6,000 a year. And I bring in, as was mentioned, even more than what we need for all the expenses of printing and postage and anything else that may be incurred. Whatever is left, why can't that just stay in our 6,000 budgeted and let it just build forward in case we do need the money? Even this time, I was very concerned, and I expressed this to Dawn and Angela because I handle all the ads. And I said, I don't know how we're going to do because of COVID. A lot of the stores weren't open, a lot of the businesses. But I was very fortunate and I came through again. So I don't know why we can't just leave that money that's left over in that fund. That's what it's appropriated for. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in assuming that it should be left there? I don't know. It's nice to have a cushion. I guess, Jerry, my point is it's nice to have a cushion just in case we need it. I mean, so far we haven't. I've worked diligently not to create any financial issues, but we don't know, you know, from day to day how things are going to go. So I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Sylvia. And if council would like to set up a separate fund to bank the newsletter money that isn't used during the year, I think that's a fair request. I think it's something that should be done.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Jerry. Thank you. I just feel it's good to have something to go back on in case we need it. I will try not to need it, but you never know. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Jerry.
I also agree. If the money was raised by the newsletter people, it should stay in that account somewhere. So we'll look into that, Jerry.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate your comment.
Okay, are there any other registered comments at this time?
Okay, so there's
I've kind of lost track.
There's several people who were on the registered comment list who have not commented yet. One is Stephanie, and she has her hand up.
Okay. I can't see that on my phone.
Okay. Hello, I'm Stephanie from 448 Center. I'll just use this as my registered comment. Jerry, I empathize with you. Like I said previously, yesterday, you know, I've discredited some of the work you've done when it comes to our finances. That is not something to overlook. I feel for you, man. I know you were in a hard position and kind of on the burner over here, the hot seat, if you will. I'm sorry you feel victimized by the community, but man, come on, taking credit for work done as a collective and done by volunteers is unfair. These things described didn't happen solely because of you. This town is not what it is because of one single person. It is what it is because of all of us, workers and volunteers alike. So I know you wanted to stick it to us. I know you wanted to try to put us in our place. You know, I know that feeling and I feel you. But I think there's a lot more to it than just that. You know, you have your side, we have our side. You know, but I do want to be fair and give credit where credit is due. So there's that. I thank you for your time. And I'm sorry you're resigning and that this is how it ended. Nobody ever wants these things to be, you know, this way. Aside from that, I did want to comment on the farmers market. We did raise the vendor fee for the 2021 season from $50 to $75, and that is just per season. It's not a monthly rate or a weekly rate. So I thought it was pretty fair that we raised it $25 more. We do get vendors and we do get some foot traffic. So I just wanted to make that note on the farmers market item line. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
And it looks like Jessica Verona is next.
Hi, everybody. All right, so this is my registered comment. I think they're all kind of getting jumbled together. Jessica Verone, 722 Bruneau Street. So I think one of the hallmarks of a thriving community is when there's a lot of interest and engagement from the residents. So I think our council should be really excited to see so many members of the public here tonight that are dedicated to the well-being of our little borough. We're really coming out to express, I think, love for our community through the many questions that we have about the budget, about what our plans are for 2021. And we know that 2021 also marks a pretty significant milestone for Verona when we celebrate 150 years. So what better way to honor our sesquicentennial than by giving a special attention and a fresh perspective to borough operations and by hiring a full-time manager. I'm very excited about this. I see that you've got that $70,000 in the budget for this purpose, and the public really does need to know what your plan is to position and on what time frame. The budget has been discussed already at the workshop meeting. It seems like you guys have not been able to come together with a plan before this meeting tonight. And I know like Jerry's resignation has kind of thrown a wrench in things, but you know, I think that's something that is going to need to be shared with the public in some capacity. And in the past, I haven't really been too impressed with the information that's being shared with the public. It's tough to get that out of council. So I hope that we can do a good job to get that out. I also think I speak for many community members when I say, you know, we're really excited to have this opportunity before us, and I'm looking forward to having one person with experience and a passion for public administration that's focused on growing our community. I think that's a skill set that is unique and has been missing from our borough. I also wanted to comment on the fee for accounting services because I think that's something that several people have noted. It's doubled. I saw in an email that some community members sent to Mr. Kenna with questions on the budget. He responded indicating that it was a quote arbitrary amount and that it was part of his proposal if he wasn't going to be kept on as borough manager. So sounds like that's the plan. So I don't know if council you've received this proposal or if you've reviewed it, determined if that's a fee for services that's appropriate. Other people have brought that up. You know, it seems like it would be a good idea to do some due diligence, send it out for bid. Maybe it is the right amount of money. I really have no idea. And I would think that none of you have an idea either, unless you know, frequently hire accountants in your day job, and that's something that you're used to seeing, that those money and those kinds of quotes. I also hope that we're going to be able to improve on a few things in the future. We did not have a contract for services for our borough manager that outlined his job duties and scope of services. And I think that was a real detriment to our community. We really need to make sure that we have that tightened up for future contracts. The public and I think council has no idea how many hours that Jerry's worked, you know, during the course of a week. You know, when I manage contracts in my government job, the contractors submit a report every month. They show the hours that have worked, services that have been performed, and then I need to approve that information before payment. So that's the best practice, you know, that we follow in the federal government. And I would suggest the council starts to follow this best practice in the future for our contracts. I really think also a lot of the questions tonight could have been addressed proactively by just providing an accessible budget summary to the public in advance of future discussions and voting. I think transparency is so important. I feel like I say that a lot on these calls. I think without that transparency, without making the budget and its approval processes understandable to our community members, you risk having meetings like this that kind of go on for a long time because the public doesn't know what's going on and they're asking a lot of questions. And I think that is frustrating to some members of council. And most importantly, though, without that transparency and really just your attempts to engage and connect with your community members, you really risk losing touch with the needs of the community. And you become really disconnected from your constituents. These are the people that voted you into office. We've entrusted you in the care of our community and our community's finances. So I hope you'll take these suggestions into consideration in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else, Jerry?
Tim Long and Nate Stimmel are on the list, but I
Yeah,
don't see their hands raised.
Okay. Is there anybody else who has a comment on agenda items at this time?
Okay.
There's Nathan Stimmel. I have to promote him to a panelist. It says a lot of talk is not available because Nathan Stimmel is using an older version of Zoom. So I have to promote him to panelist in order for him to speak.
Okay.
Camera, Nathan. You're muted though.
There you go.
Okay. Thanks for the promotion. I feel honored. Thank you, Council. I'm Nathan Stimmel at 854 First Street. First off, I wanted to thank Mr. Kenna for his responses to the questions regarding the budget. I was initially a bit confused about the amount budgeted for major expenditures, but he did clarify that the amount listed was the total, including grants received, and it's understood that the money will be spent. So I'm interested to see that money go to work. I also want to thank Mr. Kenna for his service over these years for the borough. Just want to add that I'm very happy to see the council's dedicated money for a full-time borough manager salary in the coming year. I just feel like I'm adding my voice to the chorus. I think it's important at this stage to have someone who'll be devoted to the workings of the borough full-time, and the fact of you council members allocating funds to a full-time position is a promising sign that you also recognize that need. If I understand correctly, some members of council have met with former Pittsburgh Council President, Mr. Doug Shields, about filling this position on a temporary kind of transitional basis. Very excited about the prospect of Mr. Shields coming in on the interim. I know it's not, definitely not set in stone, but just the fact that you're entertaining the possibility is pretty great. He's obviously got a wealth of experience and expertise that could be a great benefit to our town. So I really hope council will take him and all that he brings to the table into consideration. And of course, that they'll be moving forward with a full-time appointee soon. That's all for me. Thank you for your time and happy holidays.
Thank you. Same to you.
Sure.
Like Tim Long's hand is up. Hey, Tim.
Hello. Yes, I would just like to say that everything that was said tonight was well spoken by every member of our community. I am glad to see that we will be getting a full-time borough manager and think that this needs to be advertised as soon as possible. It's something that this town needs. So that is all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to comment about agenda items?
Look like there's anybody else.
Okay. So at this time, I guess we can go back to the issue of accepting Mr. Kenna's resignation. I'll make the motion to accept it.
So there was already a motion. And a second.
Motion made. We can carry that motion over. Second by Mr. Suchovich. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, I'm concerned about the original motion, which was combining too many things into one motion. I'm not quite sure how to fix it. I think we have to rescind the original motion and start again and make a new motion that simply has to do with accepting the resignation, and then go on to talk about the rest of it. Is that correct, Craig?
That is correct.
So you have to,
I understand, Nancy. I will rescind the first motion.
And Raymond, rescind your second.
I'll rescind my second.
Okay, now the motion on the floor is to accept the resignation of Mr. Kenna. I need a second.
And I will second that.
It's second by Mr. Suchovich. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any noes? The resignation is accepted and will complete on January 30th. Now, the second part of that is, and I want to, before I make the motion, my concern is if we do not extend this at this point in time with Mr. Kenna, we have no one to take care of our bills and things within the borough. And if we start looking for another accountant, we may not get one for a while, particularly the fact that tax season's coming up. So with that in mind, I'm making this motion that we accept Mr. Kenna's offer to continue on as treasurer at the stated amount. I think it was 24,000 and his 12,000 for the other. Is that correct, Jerry? Am I correct in that?
The proposal that I put together was $24,000 for all the treasurer and accounting work. The payroll processing is a completely separate thing.
All right, I'll do the payroll separately. I'll do the payroll motion separately then. So
Prefer that I put together I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to, if council would like me to put a proposal in writing that you can research and get competitive bids, I don't mind. My fees are fair, and I would like to stay on with the borough, but if I'll present a proposal. I have no problem with that.
all right, then how
All
will
right.
we?
I have
I prefer that.
Hold.
I
Yeah,
have a
I'd like-
question.
Yeah, me too.
If we have Mr. Kenna until the 30th of January. Am I right? The 30th of January.
Correct.
If it's the pleasure of council, why don't we get Mr. Alexander or whomever, I'm not sure who does it, to get a proposal together and get somebody to get us a bids by mid-January for the job. That's what everybody wants. And that way we're transparent and we get this done right. But Mr. Kenna will be paying the bills until end of January.
All right, I don't have a problem with that. Then we won't make any motion on that part of it now. And Mr. Kenna put a proposal together so that we can research that. Thank you.
So my question is this, the budget and the pay structure that's currently in place goes until December 31st. So I'm not sure what happens between January 1st and January 31st in terms of, you know, what happens with the pay structure. I think that it's something, as just discussed, that needs to be dealt with in more depth. And for one thing, there needs to be, I think, we need to start having contracts. So we would want to put together a contract with Mr. Kenna regarding exactly what he's going to do for the borough and exactly what he's not going to do for the borough and how much he'll get paid and what we decide upon. And I don't know whether we want to see what the market would bear. I mean, I understand, Jerry, you want to stay with us. I think a lot of people want you to stay with us. I'm just not clear. So I just wanted to point that out. I think maybe it's best. It's December 8th. We have until the 31st, as I understand it, to keep things just as they are. Now, Jerry's saying his resignation as borough manager is ending January 30th. Is that, are we going to continue with the same pay structure from January 1st to January 30th, or is it going to change for that 30 days? I'm unclear about that. I'm not sure how we work all this out. I'm not an expert in this area, but I think that we might need to have some meetings together before the end of the year and maybe come back for a workshop on December 29th with what we've figured out.
One thing. Go ahead.
Jerry's talking.
Oh, I can't hear him.
I don't see why it would change.
Well, why, what would change?
His fee.
Current
the
fee would
30th.
stay the same until January 30th.
Okay, well then don't we need to, I don't know, have something at least in writing, you know, a brief contract that says that, because our budget doesn't indicate that. And I'm asking, I'm not sure. I don't know, Craig, if you can weigh in here, but I just don't know that there's a new year, there's a new budget. It's very confusing to me about what we do in this situation.
Excuse me. I think this, I mean, you've accepted Jerry's resignation. He's offered to stay on to the end of January. And I don't know the answer of whether there's an increase in pay because we're in a new year versus the current pay schema. I mean, that's just not a question I can answer. That's council's discretion.
Well, like I'm saying, I think we need to meet about it, discuss it, and, you know, come up with a solution. We're good until December 31st, that I know. But I'm not sure that legally or, you know, how things technically are supposed to work in this kind of situation, that you can just roll over into the new year and have, and do we change the pay structure? Do we keep it the same? Do we have a contract for a 1 month that says we're going to keep it the same? And the president and the manager and the solicitor sign it, or the mayor, I don't know, somebody, we got to sign something. We got to have something in writing. I guess what I'm saying. What were you saying, Mike?
Here's my proposal to a simple solution. Mr. Ken has agreed to stay on till January 30th. He writes up a proposal that for those 30 days, if his salary stays the same as it is now as borough manager, and for the accounting abilities, and then writes a separate proposal for the ongoing after January 30th for the accounting items. And then that way he can submit that to Craig, and Craig and I can sign it. And then council will be assured that he's not being paid anymore, and he's not part of that anymore budget. We've budgeted money, and if we don't spend it, we don't spend it. If we spend, you know, in a budget, it's the budget, like in the police budget, we recommend salary for police. I use that as an example, and we haven't spent it. So it's still there. So if we do it this way, it won't matter, because you're going to have to negotiate a contract with a new manager.
Well, that's a whole nother topic.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, I understand that, Nancy, but I'm just saying that simplifies the solution with Mr. Kenna until January 30th. Craig, does that sound correct?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just want to clarify an issue. We've talked about a lot tonight about contracts for the borough manager and other folks, perhaps the treasurer or accountant. And I just want to, there's a lot of people in the public here today, so it's a good time to talk about it. You're really not allowed to create contracts that tie the hands of council with regard to your appointed officials and your consultants. They serve at the pleasure of council. When they recodified the borough code, maybe a little bit before that, they did put a provision into the borough code that allows you now to have a contract. In the old days, you couldn't even have a contract. You just served at the pleasure of council. Your borough ordinance gave you what your job description was. But a lot of places tried to put severance pay into play so that the incoming council couldn't terminate the borough manager when maybe they got the majority. So the borough code is clear that you can't do that. You can put some reasonable severance into a contract, but the contract's only good until the following reorganizational meeting. So for instance, if we start in February or March with a new borough manager, any contract that's put into place is only valid until the following January, because when a new council comes on board, they get to they get to create the terms of what the duties are for the borough manager and the compensation and all that. You could put into the contract the duties and the expectations, but it has to be clear that your consultants serve at the pleasure of the appointing board. I serve at the pleasure of the appointing board. The borough manager, every consultant, the treasurer, if he has a separate contract, serves at the pleasure of the board. So while you can put those expectations in, and we came up with a very, very detailed job description for the borough manager, and that pretty much is going to be the contract, I would presume, for that position. Mike sent it to me today and asked me to comment on the yellowed up areas, and I'm going to do that probably tomorrow. And yeah, we will put together a contract that complies with the provision of the borough code, as limited as that is.
Okay.
Okay, so I have still a question though. I'm thinking about a contract, and I'm not meaning like that it has dates in it, but a contract like what you're talking about, Craig, which has expectations that has to do with being the treasurer or the bookkeeper or the accountant or whatever we're calling it, which I'm not even clear about what it is. And I think we all need to take some time to study that and look at, you know, what that's going to be going forward after January 30th. I was just looking at, to me, there's two separate issues. There's the issue of the borough manager, and Jerry's going to be that until January 30th. And we can make an agreement, a contract, whatever you want to call it, for that month. I think, maybe not legally, I'm not sure. How do we extend what's happening right now? But then separately, you know, starting, I guess, January 30th, what is the agreement going to be, the expectations and the rate of pay for our accountant slash treasurer slash bookkeeper slash whatever? I mean, what are we going to call it? All of that has to be worked out.
Well, Nancy, I think maybe instead of calling it a contract like Craig's alluding to, it would be a scope of services for a consultant and
Okay.
a rate sheet for their rate of pay.
Okay.
And so I think maybe we just need to develop that, or have, you know, if we were hiring someone new for whatever consultancy it is, then we would have them provide their scope of services. Is that correct, Craig, what you're getting at?
I like that. That's yes.
And that's kind of what was proposed, that there's going to be a proposal for this.
Right.
Yeah.
So that if we go to another accounting firm and ask for something, that whatever's in that proposal, they're bidding on the same exact thing. It's not comparing apples and oranges.
And just so everybody's aware, and I think I can't remember who it was. It may have been Joey Warren. When you put out an RFP, which you can choose to do or you don't have to do, but it does give you apples to apples. You don't have to choose the lowest responsible bidder like you do in competitive bidding. With your professional services, you're allowed to choose the person that you feel is the best fit for Verona. And that could be somebody who's a little bit more expensive, or it could be somebody who's in the middle range, or it could be the lowest guy. But Verona Borough Council gets to make that decision as to who they want as their consultant.
So in other words, we could see what the market bears and then base our decisions on the information, still have Jerry and just talk to him about the information that we gather from the RFPs.
That's correct.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Craig.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Are there any other comments on the agenda items at this time?
Yeah, looks like Joey put his hand up again. One was his registered comment, and then he has a
I know,
second
that's
one.
why I said on agenda items.
Okay.
Joey.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to know what the process would look like. I don't know if there's an answer right now, but if you're applying for a position and your borough manager accepting applications for, should there be a separation of that should be established? I'm not sure, but I just wanted to ask the question as this is unfolded tonight with the conversation.
I'm going to put a committee together to review applications.
Okay. And at any point, will this be public or will this be done in working meetings that you'll bring your findings? Will you share the discovery process of what the rates were found to be, what your thought process is for what will be acceptable for a minimum from our council?
For borough manager? you mean?
Correct.
Once they've narrowed it down to 3 or 4 people, then those 3 or 4 people will be interviewed, and then they will probably be interviewed by all of council.
So I guess my question was if any portion of this will be within a workshop meeting, a public meeting, or will anything be updated? So my question is more of the process. Again, if a candidate is also the current employee, what the process would be for accepting those, and then what the process would include for any of the public.
In the past, like we did with hiring the chief, was we reviewed all the applications. We narrowed it down to about 15 of those who we interviewed. And of those 15, we narrowed it down to 6. And those 6 were brought in at a public meeting in front of council, and they were interviewed. And then from those 6, we chose the chief.
Okay, I guess for my public comment, just a couple more things to note then for this. I think as it's been shared tonight, to meet expectations, you're going to have to define them. So I know there's a challenge to doing this. I know you're wanting to expedite it, but I also appreciate doing the process to where you're going to do it right. And just one more thing to share. I was raised as it's not what you expect, it's what you inspect. And I encourage that you guys are thorough in your processes for not only the finances that you're doing with the budget, but the hiring process. And with all I've heard tonight and over the last few months, I think it'll just do more good than not, just to be overly transparent when possible, if possible. Thank you, President.
Thank you. Are there any other comments on the agenda items?
Doesn't appear to be.
Okay. You want to move forward with your correspondence, Mr.
Yeah. The meeting minutes were presented after last month's meeting. We would need a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the November workshop.
I need a motion to accept the meeting minutes from the November workshop.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Suchovich. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Loalba. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No noes. Motion passed.
Okay, moving on. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place here. I sent out the bills payable list and the checklist for the month of November. I would need a motion to pay the bills.
Need a motion to pay the bills.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Fordback.
Second.
I need a second. Second by Mr. Suchovich. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No noes. Motion passed.
For tax collector special tax report for the month of November, we received $2,990.52 in real estate taxes for the current year. Delinquent real estate taxes of $1,967.17. Earned income taxes for the current year of $26,279.86. Local service taxes are $6,417.50. And the real estate transfer tax for the month was $882.
I need a motion to accept the tax collector special tax
I'll
report.
make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Suchovich. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Provenza. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No noes.
No.
Motion passed.
For the treasurer's report, we began the month of November with $150,174.94 in the general fund. Received deposits of $122,025.16 and had expenditures of $86,014.45 for an ending balance of $186,185.65.
I need a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Suchovich. I need a second. I'll second that motion. All those in favor, are there any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Jerry, I don't know whether Marsh was able to talk to you about my concern about these bank account reconciliation sheets. Did she get with you about that?
No.
Okay, so last month for the October sheet, I had made a note in an email in a response that the column said 9/01/20, and I think it should have said 10/01/20.
Yeah.
And if you look at the one for the month before, all the numbers are exactly the same. It's not just a typo of the date. So all of the addition and subtraction that went on last month made that our ending balance for the end of October, but it says the end of September, is 208,096.01. But then we're starting the beginning of November with a completely different number, because though that first column, for some reason, maybe, probably just a mistake, the subtractions and additions were made on the figures that were for September instead of the figures for October. Do you understand what I'm saying
I
to
do.
you?
I do.
Yeah. So it's, I'm assuming that the figures for November are correct, but I'm unsure and unclear because the numbers from the month before are not correct.
November is correct. I'm assuming that the version that was printed out last month probably didn't have the final save. I will verify last month's and probably represent it to council. But I confirmed that November's numbers are correct.
Okay, because 150,000 is a lot different than 208. So yeah,
That's probably what happened. I'll represent last month's next meeting, but for the meantime, the November one is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any no? No no's, motion passed. Police chief's report.
Good evening, everyone. We received 138 complaints, 18 crimes reported, 15 which were cleared. We had four total arrests, 1 crimes code summaries issued, 31 vehicle code summaries issued, 16 borough code summaries issued, and 106 borough parking tickets. Our magistrates' fines collected was $528.33. Borough fines and fees collected was $580. Police reports purchased was $30. We have $15.17 in municipal fines. For total fines and fees collected was $1,153.50. And then another $110 in parking permit fees. I wanted to talk about another issue too. The mayor's brought to my attention that we've been getting some questions about people running the red lights there at Southland ARB, and Center and ARB. I'm going to assign somebody to watch that. The hours I think are between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. are the concerned times that were brought up. I did have an officer assigned to it. He's written me several reports on the times and dates that he was watching that intersection. And Mayor, I'll get that to you if you'd like for me to get those reports to you. But unfortunately, the times he's working were not the times from the 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. So I'm going to have to reassign somebody that's working those particular hours to make sure they sit on those lights and watch those intersections for people running the red lights. And just a short addition to the seizure money, that's all governed through the feds and stuff on how it goes, what portion the borough gets. It's according for directly involved, you get more. If you're just kind of like the third department that assisted, you get less. They have their numbers and their figures on how they determine how much the borough gets. But you got to realize sometimes when you hear things in the news that there was a big drug bust in Verona. That does not mean actually it was in the borough of Verona. The news doesn't know the difference between our zip code and the borough. They don't know that some of those addresses that have the borough zip code is not actually Verona. So they say the Verona had a big drug bust, but it might not have actually been in the borough. And if it's not in the borough, then we're not involved and we would not get any seizure money from that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. I need a motion to accept the chief's police report.
Motion to accept the police report.
Motion first by Mr. Forbeck. I need a second. I'll second it. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No noes. Motion passed. Fire chief's report.
We had 14 calls in the month of November.
Okay. I need a motion to accept the fire chief's report. I'll make that motion. I need a second. Second by Mrs. Lealbo. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No noes. Motion passed. EMS report.
Jamie messaged me earlier and said that he was on the trucks this evening.
Okay.
He sent this to me. Let me see if I can get it open here. Yeah, okay. For the month of November, they had 14 ALS calls, 8 BLS, 5 refusals, 3 cancellations, 2 fire standbys, 3 lift assists, 2 false calls, 2 no patients, and 2 private vehicle. Total 911 calls in Verona were 41. Total calls for November was 361. Total calls year to date as of November 30th for Verona was 413. Total volume year to date for Lower Valley Ambulance was 4,451 calls.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the EMS report.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Suchovich. I need a second. Second by Ms. Alba. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No noes. Motion passed. Budget.
The only thing I had left is that we've gone back and forth with the budget. I know that there were some issues brought up tonight. I think that I've tried to answer as many as I can. I'm not sure if council's prepared to pass this budget or make a motion to pass the budget or not.
I don't feel that we really can do that at this time. I think that there's things that have been brought up, things that you noted, I think, Jerry, in the general questions, like that was a good catch, some stuff you were gonna do. I think some revisions are gonna be made to the budget, and that being the case, I'd like to suggest that we not try to pass it tonight, that we allow you plenty of time to make those revisions, and we plan to come back on December 29th for a short workshop meeting to pass the budget.
December 29th.
December 29th, exactly, yes.
We have to pass the budget that day.
Yes, absolutely. But, you know, the changes need to be made, and I think the public has the right to take another look at all the revisions. And then, you know, they can email questions or concerns that they might still have. And then we come back December 29th.
Okay, moving on. Mayor Recupero, do you have anything tonight?
If
Dave, you're muted. Mayor, you're muted.
Mayor, we can't hear
I'm
you.
trying.
There you go.
You're muted again.
Remute yourself, David.
Okay, there,
Okay,
you're good.
now, you know, okay, the audio is very bad on tonight. I don't know for what reason, both with the public and all of us. I don't know if anybody else is having problems, but anyways, Jerry, I respect your decision on your resignation. I think this could have been resolved a long time ago. This board knew that the people wanted to hire a full-time borough manager, and it could have been resolved by just asking you, do you want the full-time position? Yes or no? Do you want to go part-time, at least 5 hours per day, 25 hours per week? And that's my opinion, but I respect your decision on your resignation. And yes, you are correct about moving this borough forward. I've been here, it'll be 30 years next in 2021, and we have come a long way. And you have done many things as far as the finance goes in moving and saving this borough money. And I think that owes a lot of gratitude to you, and thank you for that. A couple other things real quick. Ray, December 19th at 11 o'clock. That's a Saturday. Santa Claus will be in Verona. And if we could ride him around with the police escort, Sergeant Francos will be on also, as he did with the Easter Bunny. And, you know, we're hit every street again. That'll be Saturday, December 19th.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay, I appreciate it. We're gonna do the
Some of the
top of
little
the hill
alleys in that,
first
Dave.
because we.
Some of the little alleys in that might not be tough with the engines. We used the pickup last time.
Yeah, that's fine. Use the pickup again. Santa Claus is already informed. He'll be here, and we'll start at the Borough Building. And this time I want to go up straight up Center Avenue for those people that put their kids to bed, you know, for a nap at 11 or 12, 1 o'clock. Maybe they can come out to Center Avenue. We'll start on top of the hill this year first and go to every street. The Easter Bunny, we started on the lower part in April. Thank you for doing that.
No problem.
And Matt, if you're going to bring, Matt, you're going to bring up the pavilion, I'd like to comment on that, you know, when you bring it up, if you are going to bring that up. And I would like to thank everybody who has volunteered in this town to make Verona what it is, to beautify the town. There's just too many names to name. You know who you are, and I appreciate all the hard work that everybody has done in making Verona what it is today. And also, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and a blessed New Year and a blessed Christmas, and happy holidays to everyone. That's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, last night we had an exec session about the manager's job, but in light of what happened tonight with Mr. Kenna, that has become a moot point. But I wanted to let everybody know that we did. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and we will get this budget resolved and passed. Thank you. Mr. Pitch.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do apologize. I don't remember who it was that brought it up during public comment about First Street. I just wanted to assure them that that project is still moving forward. The paving of it was delayed due to some sewer line work that is being completed along First Street, but we do anticipate that work to pick back up in spring. And the goal is there, all the bricks will be removed and the street will be paved, much like we did on the lower half of 2nd Street. The CD 45 demos, the project advertisement and bid specs have been provided to the COG. We're just waiting for the county to give the thumbs up on those. That is for the 2 homes on 4th Street. So those still are moving forward. The Greenways Trails and Recreation Grant for Cribbs Field Pavilion. The contractor had provided color samples. The rec board has been working to pick colors of those. I had emailed out everyone some colored renderings of the color choices. As long as everyone is okay with it, I'd like to move forward with giving the contractor the okay. Items such as the block can take 6 to 8 weeks to get in if it's not a color that's readily stocked. So I'd like to bring that before council for approval to move forward with the color choices as provided.
Matt, if I may, I have a concern. I like the colors, I really do, but I have a concern about the black block. As far as a safety concern for the officers at night. I mean, I realize the pavilion underneath will be lit up, but I don't know. Just think about it. You know, the black background of the pavilion. I like the green, but I don't know. Maybe a lighter color would be more feasible. That's my opinion. You know,
I
mainly
actually
for
thought,
safety.
I thought those dark colors were a dark brown. Matt, is that true?
The color is actually called a chocolate, and I do realize it didn't come across entirely clear on the rendering, but it does kind of have specks of silver mixed in with the block. And I can always work with the chief on some lighting. There is going to be lights under the pavilion and a light on the back side of the pavilion. If we feel we need to add like a small emergency light to keep the sides of it lit up, that's something that we can add in as well.
Okay.
Dave,
all right, I appreciate it. Just for, you know, go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, to add to what you were saying about the block, I saw the actual physical sample of the concrete block that Matt had shared with Rec Board, and I would say it's not as dark as the rendering may make it look. I was afraid of having a really dark brown initially with Matt's original rendering, but when I saw the sample, it's almost like a lighter grayish brown. It's not real light, but it's also not real dark. I think it's a good color.
Okay, I respect both yours and Matt's opinion. That's fine. Like you said, you know, the picture looks like it's really dark on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
That's fine.
I used the color sample from Lampus block, but on such a small scale, it doesn't really do it justice.
Okay.
So do you need a motion for us to pass this for you to move forward?
Yes, please.
All right. At this time, there's a motion on the floor to proceed, to let Matt proceed with the block and siding for the new pavilion. I need a motion for that proposal.
I'll make that motion as recommended by the board.
First, motion made by Ms. Alba, second. I'll second it. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No noes. Motion passed. Thank you, Matt. Go ahead, continue on
Thank
with
you.
what you have.
The item on my agenda that talks about the sanitary sewer lining about first, that's in conjunction with the reconstruction that's going on. We do have the county contracts on that. We're just awaiting for a schedule from the contractor. That again is trenchless repair. So we'll be getting that scheduled soon. The other item on there that we've discussed is the Center Avenue storm sewer extension. That will move forward next year. The CDBG applications for next year have all been submitted to the county for final review. And the last item I have is the borough had requested some tree pruning quotes from local tree services, mostly centered around Wildwood Boulevard and East Railroad and the decorative trees in part of West Railroad where a lot of trees are hanging over the road. We had several bids come in. Beaver Jack Tree Service was the low quoter. They were at $11,520. I've reviewed that and they meet all the bids specs for that. So I would recommend a motion to award to Beaver Jack Tree Service.
Okay, there's a
Make that
motion.
motion.
All right, Mr. Matlin made the motion to accept Beaver Track Tree Services for $11,520. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Second by Dr. Carpenter. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Matt, I think you answered this for me and some others, but you did verify they have a certified arborist on staff, correct?
Correct. They actually have several on staff, so
Okay.
they're covered there.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? No more questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No noes. Motion passed.
And that's all I have on my agenda. I would just like to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday if I don't see or speak to you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for the chocolate, Matt.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate the box of candy.
Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. President. A few things to talk about tonight. We have a number of ordinances that we advertised. I believe that all but one is code and ordinance matters that Nancy will bring up in her report, and I'll read the ordinance heading at that time. Jerry did ask that I advertise the tax ordinance as well, with the anticipation that the budget may be voted on. So that is also advertised and ready to go at whatever time we do pass the budget. It must be passed before the end of the month, as President McCarthy indicated. So I will go through the ordinances under Nancy's agenda when the time comes. We also have a resolution to adopt. A couple months back, we passed a resolution that amended the fee schedule to include rollaway dumpsters, I think, and something else. But then Mark went and prepared a comprehensive list of all permits and fees that we have in one fee schedule. So I forwarded that to all of council with the attachment that the rates for inspection services that Mark had put together. It's a comprehensive rate for, we're going to start it now and continue it into 2021. And then if it needs to be changed in the future, we can do that by subsequent resolution. It's a resolution of the Borough of Verona, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, providing a comprehensive fee and permit schedule as is authorized by various ordinances of the borough. And this puts everything now into one fee schedule, and Mark did a tremendous job on it. So
Yeah, just to clarify it, yeah, it's for demolition, rollaway dumpsters, and all building permits. And I'll make the motion to pass this resolution.
The motion on the floor by Dr. Carpenter passed the resolution for the fee increases for rollaways and dumpsters and inspections.
And demolition.
And demolition. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
I can't tell who said second. Sound like Mr. Suchovich, so I'll give it Mr. Suchovich. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No noes. Motion pass.
We have our code and ordinance meeting the fourth Monday of every month. We are not having a meeting. I'm sure Nancy will report on that, but we did meet. I think it was the fifth Monday in November this past month. We've already spoken about the job description. I'm going to get Mike some input on the yellowed items, and I spoke about the contract for the borough manager. I'm just looking at my notes I wrote down as the meeting progressed. I believe that concludes my report. I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah starts in a couple of days. So to our Jewish residents, Happy Hanukkah, and just enjoy the holiday season. Thank you very much. I'll probably be on the call on December 29, but have a Happy New Year as well. Jerry, not anticipated, but my pleasure to have been able to work with you for the last whatever, 7+ years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Matlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I'd like to start, like others, to thank Jerry and Mr. Kenner for his service. I wasn't around for, the times of financial distress, but I believe it was pretty bad based on everything that many people have told me, and I appreciate what's been done by Mr. Kenner to help get us back on track in the last 5 to 10 years. I'd also like to thank the rec board for their assistance in reviewing the pavilion colors with Matt, and for Matt's help in doing that. I think that they did a great job in picking a good color scheme that the community and this board can be proud of. So I look forward to that project. It's really exciting, and hopefully by next summer we'll have a new pavilion to use. I'd also like to thank the public works crews. They've done a great job with the leaves and with the snow that we had recently, which was a little bit earlier than normal. I think they did a great job, and they continue to do a great job. And I hope that they're able to keep on top of things this winter, given the difficult circumstances with the pandemic. Jerry, I don't know if there's a DPW report at all.
I'll send it to you now. They've been working on leaves. They had to convert over all the equipment to snow. The snow was a little bit unexpected, I think, certainly earlier in the year than we were used to. And they did a good job making sure that the road stayed safe. They had some repair work on the leaf removal equipment. They did some pothole patching. The backhoe needed a little bit of repair work, and so did the snow removal equipment. So I'll send this to you as well, but I figured I'd go over it with you in the public.
Thank you. I don't know if this was I guess this would have been in November, but I know that they also were putting up holiday decorations in the business district. So I know people have been recognizing that and appreciative of that. So they're doing a good job. So I just want to remind everyone that. The only thing I had a few comments for council. I do feel like, in light of some of the recent, things in the recent days and the recent meetings, I feel like the public does not feel like they've been heard in the past, and I feel like we as a council, a lot of the talk has been about the borough manager position and Mr. Kenna, but I do feel like this board for many years has neglected to fulfill its duties to oversee certain things. And I think that this was particularly with public comment and allowing people to have a voice. I think that we need to stop treating the public like they're the enemy. The public has a right to be critical. They have a right to ask questions, and they have a right to hold us all accountable. They are the boss. We answer to them. And I think we need to keep that in mind now and in the future, because it's not the sort of thing where we shouldn't be able to just blow them off and ignore them. We may not always agree with them. We may not like them personally, but they are the voters, and they elected us, and we solicited their votes. And at my professional day job, if my boss calls me in his office and wants to talk with me about my performance, I can't blow him off. I can't tell him I don't have time. I could, but I'd probably get fired. So I think we need to keep that in mind as a council. And I think as far as comments go, we're not always going to have the answers. We're not always going to be able to respond right away. And I think we need to be able to tell them, honestly, we don't know, we'll follow up. And if we say that we're going to follow up, I think we need to follow up in a timely manner with some sort of response. And maybe that starts a dialogue, maybe that starts a conversation, but I think it's a chance to engage with our constituents. I think if we repeatedly blow them off, it's going to cause distrust, and it's only going to snowball. And I think we may have seen what that looks like in some of the comments tonight and in the past. And I think we need to keep that in mind. So I think we should be welcoming all comments, questions, feedback with open arms, whether they're good or bad. Because if we're doing a good job, I think we're going to hear about it and they're going to appreciate it. And so I think we need to do that. I think we also need to be more transparent. We shouldn't be waiting for people to come and ask us for things like ordinances, agendas, meeting minutes, any other documents that the public should have a right to know. We as a council should be making sure that that information is out there and available. And again, it's gonna keep the trust with the public. So that's pretty much what I have to say about that. I think a lot of that goes along with the budget. I think we can do a better job as a council as in relaying the information that's in the budget. We as council members may have a good idea of what's in there from reading the monthly reports, the financial reports, but members of the public don't. And I think we should, as a group, try to make it easier for them to understand and read it, because I think there are a lot of things that can be answered simply. And I know that Jerry did do a good job of responding to a lot of the questions, but I think there maybe still are some questions that, we're going to have to address in the coming weeks before the end of the year. And perhaps a workshop where we have an open discussion about budget line items would be a good idea for next year come budget season. So with that, I just want to wish everyone happy holidays, and thank you.
Okay, Mr. Madeline, thank you. Dr. Carpenter.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Before I get into my ordinances, I just wanted to mention to the mayor, Dave, is there a way with help that we can publish the actual route for Santa Claus so people know where he's going to be, and in case they're not living on the street that he's going to be on, then they can go somewhere to see him?
It's kind of hard. I'll have to get with Sergeant Francos and see if he can plan a route out, then go from there. That's why I want to go straight up Center Avenue and let people know in case their kids go to sleep at 12:30, 1 o'clock. It takes about 3 hours to do the whole time. But I'll work on that.
Yeah, certainly happy to help you with any, technologically, and if it goes beyond my abilities, I'm sure, someone else could help get that online somehow, the route.
Yeah, and I'll give it out to Curtis also.
Okay.
Put it out to Curtis, and I appreciate the help.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you. All right, so for this evening, as you can see in the agenda, there are 4 ordinances that have been worked on for months, some of them longer than others. We voted a month ago to advertise them, and they've been properly advertised, commented on. And so tonight, I don't care what order we do this, Craig, if you want to read them. But before we do that, could I ask that everybody who's a panelist could please mute themselves if you're not talking? because I'm hearing an awful lot of echo and feedback. It's very distracting. So, or Jerry, if you could help people mute themselves or something, there's a big echo. Thank you. Okay, so Craig, if you want to go in the order of the agenda or any order, it doesn't matter with me. Craig's going to read the introductory paragraphs and then I'll make a motion and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Nancy. I can't read the agenda and also read my list, so I'm just going to go in the order that I advertised them, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
The first is the short-term rental ordinance. It's an ordinance of the Borough of Verona, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, providing for and regulating the use of short-term rentals, establishing rules and standards pertaining to such uses, providing defined terms in connection therewith, and providing penalties for any violations.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to pass and adopt the short-term rental ordinance as read by Solicitor Alexander. You need a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Dave.
Pat's got it.
What's that?
Pat's on mute.
Pat, you're muted.
Yeah, everybody muted themselves. You have to unmute.
No, Jerry has to mute me because I'm on my phone. Okay, there's a motion on the floor for by Dr. Carpenter for short-term rental and second by Mr. Matlin. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any noes? No noes. Motion passed.
Thank you. Let's go to the next one.
The next is the animal control ordinance, for lack of a better term. It's an ordinance of the Borough of Verona, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, identifying the responsibilities of persons owning and or keeping animals, prohibiting certain activities concerning animals, prohibiting unauthorized feedings, providing for enforcement and penalties, and expressly repealing Ordinance 5 of 2001 and Ordinance 3 of 2008.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the animal control ordinance.
Dr. Carpenter made a motion to adopt the animal control ordinance. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Suchovich. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? No noes. Motion passed.
Okay, next is the stop sign ordinance. It's an ordinance of the Borough of Verona, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending and supplementing ordinance number 8 of 1987 as codified in the codified ordinances of the Borough of Verona at section 244-10, which provides for the placement of stop signs at intersections in the Borough of Verona.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt the stop sign ordinance.
I'll make a motion, Nancy.
Dr. Carpenter made the motion to accept the stop sign ordinance, second by Mrs. Provenza. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Excuse me, no noes. Motion passed.
And finally is the false alarm ordinance. It's an ordinance of the Borough of Verona, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, relating to alarm systems, providing for the issuance of permits for the installation of such alarms, the revocation of said permits, requiring the registration by owners of said alarm systems with the Verona Borough for the installation of said alarm systems, and providing for fines and the administration of the ordinance.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion for the false alarm ordinance as read by the solicitor.
There's a motion on the floor by Dr. Carpenter for false alarm ordinances to be adopted, second by Mr. Suchovich. Are there any questions? No questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No noes, motion passed.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So to continue, I believe, yeah, I had the permit fees resolution under mine, but Mr. Alexander already took care of that. The update on the ordinance meeting, we just really go over a lot of items that are being dealt with by our code enforcement person. We did, my understanding is with this job description, that eventually, once it is tweaked, the job description for the borough manager, once it is tweaked and in its final form, that we will advertise it the way that we advertise any other ordinance. It will be available to the public to take a look at. And so that probably will not be finalized until the first of the year. That is just about done. And thank you again to Mike and Dave for all their help with putting that together. That really went very well. But it will become an ordinance to replace the ordinance that we currently have in place. Someone asked a question about code enforcement, about Mr. Stanton, who's our current code enforcement officer. And I agree that I would like to continue to have Mark work for us. I think he only really wants to work half a day, 3 days a week. So I just wanted to make mention of the idea that while we're looking for a borough manager, that we're also looking for someone part-time to help in the code enforcement office, which is why I believe I wrote a question to an email to you, Jerry, about not replacing Mark, but adding to him. And I believe that the budget said 51,000 for last year, and we only used about half of that so far with Mr. Stanton. So that's why I asked the question that I asked, because I'd like to keep him here, at least as a consultant. I don't know, we can work that out later, but I'd like us to look for someone to add into that office of code enforcement. Let's see here. So I think that's everything, except I just wanted to talk about a couple of other things given the evening that we've had. I was going to talk a lot about public comment that Mr. Matlin brought up, but I can see now that after the last meeting that we had, that we don't need to focus as much on the public comment, because it seems as though allowing the public to speak to agenda items only at the beginning of the meeting is now occurring. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I just want to make sure that everybody who's on council and the mayor and everybody who's putting in agenda items, to please get your agenda items in early. We might have to move that up by a day. We're also asking that people who are registering their comments are doing that on a timely basis so that it gets into the agenda. So what's key here is that then the agenda is posted in a timely manner, maybe by the end of business on Friday, if at all possible, or early Monday morning, so that people can think about what they might want to comment on an agenda item. So I'm happy to see that we're allowing the public to speak there. I also feel that it's important for us to be able to answer the questions, especially during a workshop, because that's supposed to be more of a discussion meeting. And rather than leaving the public person who is making a comment to leave them hanging and not answer their questions. I think if we answer their questions, then their questions are answered, and we don't, they're not frustrated, and we don't have to keep coming back to keep coming back to their question because it wasn't answered. So that's all I wanted to say about that. I had written out a statement about what I wanted to say about the budget manager situation. And now that's completely different than what was going on at the time that I wrote this down. So I don't know where things stand with all of this in terms of what I've written here, but I think maybe the best thing for me to do to keep my comments on target is just to read what I have, take what's relevant and ignore the rest. At the last meeting, there was a lot of people who commented about wanting a full-time borough manager for Verona. I actually never heard one person say that they didn't want a full-time borough manager for Verona. As most people attending are aware, in the 2021 proposed budget, there is money for a full-time manager, as well as for that person's health insurance and other payroll taxes. Now, given that we have Jerry until the 30th of January, that's great, but I think it takes time to search for the right person. And the first step is to put together a thorough job description that, as I discussed earlier, has already been done and is mostly complete, but it has not been adopted as an ordinance yet. So that has taken place, and that's a great thing. However, a plan to move forward with hiring someone is not really in place. In my opinion, I have been aware for a while that one method that boroughs use to deal with a transition from one manager to another is to hire an interim borough manager while the thorough search process takes place. While this way of approaching finding a new borough manager usually takes place if a manager suddenly leaves, our situation is unique in that we now have money in the budget to have a full-time borough manager and have run out of time to do a thorough search before the end of the year. Now our situation has actually changed a little. We have a borough manager who's leaving before we thought he was. We have until January 30th. I personally don't think that between now, with the holidays going to the end of January, that's enough time to actually come up with a borough manager that we want if we take the process to a slow and methodical and thorough method. Taking all of this into consideration, I have spoken to a person who would be willing to be an interim manager. And I presented his resume to council. I offered a meeting for them to know him, meet him. Just a meet and greet, was not an interview. Up until now, my idea has been met with a lot of resistance from some of the members of council, but I just wanted to share this in this public meeting in the interest of full transparency. Now, I'm not gonna go beyond that in terms of what we should do. I would be okay with if we could expedite the process, but I'm not sure that we can. So I'd like people to keep in the back of their minds that there is somebody who, in pretty short notice, with an incredible amount of experience, could be hired on an interim basis with a contract and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to say that. And in regards to our situation with the budget, I was doing a little bit of checking while we were talking about the budget. And Craig, I could really use your help on this. I believe that if we actually follow how things are supposed to go, that dealing with the budget and voting on the budget is a legislative matter. And rather than adjourning this meeting, I think what we need to do is what is it when we go to exec and then we come back?
Recess.
Recess this meeting as it pertains to the budget. And then we can reconvene this meeting at the workshop, because technically speaking, the workshop is not a legislative meeting. And then, and so can you help me out with that? That's my understanding.
The meeting, the workshop meeting, Verona does advertise its workshop meetings as voting meetings. So either way's perfectly acceptable.
Okay, and is it true that we would need to vote to amend each of the lines that gets changed in the budget at that time?
No. What the Borough Code requires is that you adopt a proposed budget and put it on public comment for 10 days. The Borough Code anticipates that there are going to be changes to that budget prior to final adoption. That budget can change any amounts of time up until the time it's finally adopted, and you don't have to go in line item by line item and improve those changes. You're just adopting the budget as a whole. You cannot change it in January or February like you can in reorganizational years. So the budget that you adopt at the end of the month is your budget. But up until final adoption, it can change multiple times. You've satisfied your requirement of adopting the preliminary budget or proposed budget, and you did put it on public display.
Okay, all right. Well, I was unclear. So when we advertise our meetings, we advertise both meetings in that month as a voting meeting, even though technically speaking, the workshop should not be a legislative meeting, according to what we learned at the local government academy.
That's correct. Verona advertises both their meetings as voting meetings. You're not required to do that.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Thank you for your help, and thank you for listening. And I hope that everybody has a really good Christmas, and we'll be back before New Year. So I'll wait till then to wish everyone a happy New Year. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Dr. Carpenter. Mr. Forback.
Thank you, Mr. President. Jerry, I am very, very appreciative of all your efforts, and, just been on council for 11 months. I mean, there are things that I found out that you have done that I never knew you did when I was out there in the general public, and it's kind of eye-opening. It's kind of a thankless position that you're in, and it's also it's kind of tough for all of us to actually try to go and go forward on this. And a full-time manager is absolutely a great option, and I appreciate your help with us moving forward on that. The job descriptions that we've been working on, as Nancy and Davis said, they're pretty much done. There are also going to be expectations and measurements for folks as we move forward. In addition to that, any employees also will be also have job descriptions and understanding what their work will be doing. With that, I mean, the borough does not just work by council alone. We understand that it's the grassroots efforts of the volunteers. It's the managers. It's the workers that do the day-to-day work for the borough that really make things happen. And obviously the general public. We're all here together. We need to work together. We need to communicate better, and communicate it on both sides, both back and forth is a great method, and I'm all for that. Whether it's with council or whether it's in the street or whether it's a text message, we're open for be able to talk to you. With that, we will have a grand opportunity coming up this hopefully starting this year when we move forward with our comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan group met beginning of end of November. We had another consultant come in and talk to about the expertise, their expertise, and what needs to be done with the comprehensive plan. So we will be having hopefully another meeting in December. If not, we'll reconvene in January as we move forward on this and be able to. Our next step is really going on our next steps and develop a scope of work for the person who will be, or company that will be doing this work. So as I said, I really thank everybody and us all working together. And I think some of us have difference of opinion, but that's why you have everybody on 7 people making a decision on something, not just one person. It's not a single person. So I want to wish everybody definitely a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I hope for you and your entire family, I hope it's wonderful, and I hope 2021 has to be better than what 2020 is as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Forback. Mr. Sutsovich.
Well, as we know, we're going to hold off on the budget, which is fine. We need to get it right and do it right. I also would like to thank Jerry for his work, his efforts. Me and Jerry have differed on things, but I think he's done a great job for the borough. And we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with the budget. I'm sure it'll be tweaked and fixed up and worked out and everything like that. With the pandemic, it's been crazy. You can't sit down and discuss things. Hopefully 2021 will be better, like Mr. Forbeck said. And other than that, I'd just like to wish everybody, as much as they can, have a safe and happy holiday season. And thanks to the citizens for their comments. It's good to hear. It's good to hear. Thank you and happy holidays.
Hey, one question for you, Ray.
Yes.
And maybe Jerry, I don't know. Has the 2019 audit been completed?
Yes.
I reached out to Pete Van Cherry. They were finishing up something with the police pension, so I don't have the report yet, but I expect to have it by that workshop. And I'll put it on the website and it'll be available in the borough building.
Okay, and can you send it to us also?
Yeah, of course.
All right, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sutsovich. Ms. Lealba.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too would like to thank Jerry for all of his hard work and time that he has put into the borough. Throughout the years, all the great improvements that have been done. You will be missed as a manager. Feel that. Parks and Rec, we had a rec board meeting on December 1st. Jeff Pepper, he gave a presentation on the pickleball court. He had organized a GoFundMe back in the spring to raise monies to have that pickleball court resurfaced. There were some leftover money in reserve. One of the ideas that he presented to us is putting a gate in the middle of the pickleball court facing the river. It would be done by North American fencing. The gate would only can lock from the inside. The police would not have to worry about a lock or a key for that. Anybody inside the court could get out, but anybody from the outside could not get in unless they were let in. So I would like, from recommendation with the rec board as well, I would like to make a motion to have a gate put in on the pickleball court fence.
This would be paid for by
the money left over from the GoFundMe for the pickleball.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Motion on the floor by Ms. Lealba was to put a gate on the riverside at Riverbank Park for the pickleball court. It was seconded by Dr. Carpenter. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? No noes. Motion passed.
Thank you. There were a couple other items that they would like to purchase as well with leftover money. They would like to get 2 more benches to put on the outside of the on the riverside facing inside to the pickleball court so people could sit and watch. Also, there is a backboard, a movable backboard that they would like to be able to move back and forth so they can use to warm up. If no one's in one side, they can move it to one side and hit the pickleballs back and forth to warm up before playing. So that would take up basically the rest of the money that was raised. So I would like to make a motion, recommended by the rec board as well, that the 2 benches and a movable backboard can be purchased for the pickleball court.
There's a motion on the floor. There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Albo for the purchase of 2 benches and a portable backboard by the pickleball for the pickleball
second
court.
that. But
Dr. Carpenter, second. Are there any questions?
yeah, I do have a question. Janet, I'm not recalling, did we decide specifically on where the benches were going to be placed? And who was going to place them and how they were going to go in?
I don't know. I don't think we decided that actually, who was going to put them in. Basic maybe our borough guys, but you know, I know the benches were to be determined. We're not sure if they're going to be the truck benches or a wooden bench. What I call it. I think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I seconded the motion because I'm you know, fine with it, but maybe we should say pending, you know, knowing more details about them, what kind and where they're going to be and how they're going to get put in.
I know they want to be permanent, you know, so they aren't taken. Okay. So we need to resend that, possibly the workshop. If I can find.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just wanted us to be clear on what we're voting on.
All right. Are you going to rescind your second?
Okay, I'll rescind my second. Thank you.
All right, then I'll look into this further and
You're going to rescind the first
yes.
part, Janet? Okay. Motion's been rescinded.
Thank you. It has been suggested and recommended by the pickleball, not the pickleball, the rec board, that Burbank Park remain open during the winter months, weather permitting. If it's a day like it's above 40, 50 degrees and there's around 40, 50 degrees, there's no snow. You know, the hard surface courts, you know, the basketball court and the pickleball court, as well as the playground, could be open. So, you know, families could take their children to play in the playground, you know, weather permitting, as long as there's no snow or it's not freezing cold. So, I don't know for that, but that's something we can do. We would like that.
I don't have a problem. I don't know that we need a motion to do that. I think that the police would have to determine whether or not there was enough snow or not, whether they should open the park.
They may get a call.
I will be in touch with the police.
What's that, Dave?
I'll get in touch with the chief and we'll open it as on a day-to-day basis, depending on the weather.
Yeah, like for instance, I think Thursday and Friday are going to be in the mid 50s and there's no snow coming for a while. And I'm sure people would appreciate being able to utilize the facilities.
Mayor, thank you.
All right, I'll take care of that.
Also, they would like to, it's been recommended too that we have a porta-john put there year round. If that's possible. But at the pickleball court, between the playground and the pickleball court. So I don't know what the contract could be with the porta-john company.
That might be something we have to talk to the porta-john company about.
Yeah.
They typically like to get them out of there when the weather changes because of their own maintenance of them. But I'll reach out to Mr. John tomorrow and ask what we would need to do to have it as a year-round thing and whether they'd be willing to do that.
Okay.
But as long as they're willing to do it, I don't think it's a budgetary issue at all. It's not that much money.
Okay.
Another item I have too is the park memorials. This past summer, we've had several, people request to have a memorial. We have a bench down at Riverbank. We have a plaque that's been hung on the basketball court. I had another request for a bench for cribs up at Cribs. So Laura Jacko and Jim Ashbaugh on the from the rec board put together, and I did send it out to everybody, the application for it and some of the rules and regulations. I looked over, I think they did an awesome job with that. And I would like to make a motion that we can go forward. Craig, I'm not sure if you got to look at the legalities of it.
Did you? And I apologize. I got your email earlier and I looked at that and everything looked fine to me.
Great. Thank you. So I would like to make a motion to be able to go forward with the application process for the park memorials.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Alba for the park memorials.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Suchovich. Are there any questions? No questions. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any noes? No noes. Motion passed.
Thank you, everyone. And I would like to say thank you to the rec board. They have done a lot of hard work this year. There may be a possible drive-in movie for Christmas. That date hasn't been determined yet, but once it gets out there, Dave, I will get in contact with you, about closing of the street if that happens. Also, I would love to wish everybody a happy holiday, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you before the new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alba. Mr. Provenza.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. We'll start with the newsletter. I want to thank all the folks that sent in their articles early, and I got the ads in early, so I have good news. The newsletter is at the printers as we speak now, so you will have it in your mailboxes very, very early. Should be in a short period of time. And if you would like to start with your articles, Mr. Wharf is always ready to take them. You can email him at veronanewsroom@gmail.com, and he'll be glad to take your articles. And also, thank you so much to all the folks that did send them. They're always wonderful. And if you'd like to do an ad, you're certainly welcome to call me. I'll be glad to take your ads. And the number is 412-828-7726. That's 412-828-7726. Next item is Chamber of Commerce. There will be no meeting this month, and I will have a current update of what's going on starting first of the year. They really didn't have the information for me right now, but Chamber of Commerce asked that I wish all of our council members and their families and our whole community and families, of course, a very, very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year. Historical Society, all meetings at this time are canceled until further notice. And you can also go to veronahistory.org and get any information that may be on there at the time. Twin Boroughs Ministries. Every month we have a dinner. It's usually the last Wednesday of the month. Well, there has been a change for this month. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to do instead of the dinners, it will be a food bank. And in order to receive the food, you must call Judy Myers at 412-828-7394. That's 412-828-7394. And Judy will make an appointment for you. And that is the only way. You absolutely must have an appointment, she said. Now, on the dates of this food drive, it would be on the Saturday, 19th of December, or excuse me, Saturday, December 12th, which is this Saturday, And the other one will be on next Saturday, which would be Saturday, December 19th. On the 26th, there will be no food bank. It's just these two that are left remaining this month. So many thanks go out to the folks who handle this, the Twin Borough Ministries. We thank them very much. Shirley Davis and her workers. Thank you for such a wonderful service that you do for this town. Please know that you're greatly appreciated. And I know Mayor Dave had mentioned that there's going to be a parade, I guess not a parade, but that the fire truck or the truck would go around with Santa on it. I do have an addition to that. And next Saturday, December 19th, Santa will also be at the Verona News Store. You'll be there from 1 to 3 p.m. and they will be giving out toys to children of our community. And this is actually the 10th year that Verona News has taken care of children here in need in our community. And they're asking for donation of new toys starting from baby up to 14 years old. Do not wrap them, but if you can please help with this worthy cause, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. It's nice to know that we can make children happy at this time of year, and especially this year with everybody so confined with the COVID. So if you can possibly give a gift, they've started now, and they'd like to have them no later than 11 o'clock next Saturday so that they can have everything ready at the Verona News. And I would personally like to thank John from Verona News, a huge thank you, I should say. He has done this for 10 years, and it is just a very, very wonderful and kind service that he is providing to the children of this community. So, John, your heart certainly is in the right place. And again, many, many thanks for this kind service that you're doing. And in closing, I first of all would like to thank Jerry. Jerry, I thank you for your service. It's been a pleasure meeting you. I didn't know you until you came here, but you have made many positive changes and you've worked hard. And I appreciate you. And of course, in the financial world, that is your world. And you have done a stellar performance here. And I would like to thank you for that. Again, I appreciate you. And I certainly wish you the very, very best in the future. God bless you and your family, and thank you. And in closing, I wish for our council members and families, and to all the people in our listening audience and in our community, from me and my family to you and your families, a very blessed and very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year. And we look forward to 2021, and we all pray it will be a wonderful and healthy year for everybody. Thank you very much. And
Okay.
I'm done.
Thank you.
You're
Are there
welcome.
any?
Hi, Pat. Hey, listen, before we start any public comment for after the meeting.
Well, let me get first finish up here, Nancy.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry.
Are there any reports from Alum or COG or anything like that?
Oh, yes, I apologize. I thank you, Mr. President. Yes, we were to go to the function at South Hills Country Club. We were invited as council borough people, and we did not go. We had no representation from Verona. So I did call ALOM and I said, I thanked him for the invitation, told him we were sorry we could not be there, but that we look forward to next year and to some other functions. And they were very appreciative that I took the time to call them, and they sent best regards and best wishes for a wonderful holiday to all of us. And I will have updates starting in January. They really didn't have anything at the time.
Okay.
So they said, thank you. Thanks for reminding me of that, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Dave, is there anything from COG?
No, I don't believe so. I think the last meeting was before the last workshop meeting, so there's no updates.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, now Nancy, what?
Yeah, I apologize. I jumped the gun there. I just forgot a couple of things. Janet, I wanted to ask you, did we know anything more about the movie? I think we were going to try to get some information from the music people and when they were going to do their concert, because I think the movie is tentatively scheduled for the same day, the 18th.
Not at this time. The Center for Creative Arts, they never responded, so they did not book a date for that day. But at this time, I do not know of what movie may be shown. That's why I had mentioned in my report that once I hear something, I will be sure to let everybody know. We can put it up. Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure of which movies. I think one of them is Elf, but I was more concerned about the date. But I think that they were pretty set on doing it on the 18th.
Right, but that when I talked with different ones earlier tonight, that wasn't set in stone yet. So once I get that date, I will be sure to let everybody know.
Okay, wonderful, thanks. The other thing was, were there one or two people who need to be voted back into the rec board starting for 2021?
For 2021, there are. We have 3 seats that are up. So I already have one letter of a letter, that they would like to stay on, and I will anticipate 2 more letters coming as well.
So when do we need to do that by?
I can do it. We can do it at the workshop.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. And the other thing I forgot was to also just ditto every positive remark that has come for Jerry. Jerry, I was here when you came in and rescued us from the mess that we were in 13 and 14 and 15. And it really was incredible, the work that you did to bring us out of that hole. And I just want to express my appreciation for all the work that you did then, for the work that you've been doing. You've been doing absolutely, your best considering everything that's been going on. And that has not gone unnoticed. We don't agree all of the time, but I'm glad to hear that you may be sticking around and still, working with the borough. So appreciate you and all your work. Thank you. I think
Anything else?
Yeah, I got it. Thanks, Pat. Thanks for letting me chime back in there.
All right. Is there any comments from the public at this time, Jerry?
Yeah, Vince Flota and Dan Showalter both have their hands up. So we'll start with, there's a couple more popping up now. So we'll start with Vince.
Hello, Vince Flota, 323 Penn Street. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment on the pavilion colors. I'm sad to see that Matt left, but I wanted to make sure that, is Matt still here?
Yeah, he rejoined. His battery died. He had to switch devices. He's
Okay.
back.
I tried to match the color of the metal doors as best I could with the metal roof. I understand that they're 2 different companies, but is there a way that after we get the roof that we could get Sherwin-Williams to color match the doors to match the roof exactly?
Absolutely. Yeah. And now that excuse me, now that I know that was kind of what we were shooting for, if we take a sample of the metal roof to Sherwin-Williams, they'll match it.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I elaborated on that. I picked a sample based on as close as I could match it, but I figured that you guys needed something to vote on tonight. But I wanted to reiterate that it was intended for the roof and the metal doors to match.
I just made that note, and I'll make sure that's what happens.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work. And that's all I have. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy holiday.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll go to Dan Showalter.
Hey, all, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Dan Showalter, 440 North Avenue. This is in regard to the idea of a full-time borough manager. I'm originally from the city. I'm a Greenfield boy. And Bob O'Connor lived right down the block from me. And that was probably 7th, 8th grade when he first ran for council in the city of Pittsburgh. And it was a really happy day, the day that Bob O'Connor became mayor in the city. What I can say about Doug Shields is Doug was the click to Bob O'Connor's clack. Anytime you talk to Bob and he talked about somebody on council that had his back, Doug Shields was always the name that came out of his mouth. Mr. Shields did a great job for the city. I know he was extensively involved in planning commissions for the city. I mean, we're talking about 380,000 people. The area that he represented on council, unlike our council, which is an at-large council, in the city, as you know, you represent certain neighborhoods. The neighborhood area that he represented was 50,000 people. And he was responsible for those 50,000 people. Besides him being on council in the city of Pittsburgh for over a decade, he resigned his position to be chief of staff for Bob O'Connor. That's how much Bob O'Connor trusted this man. To say that he is qualified would be the understatement of the year. He has the names of Fitzgerald in his phone. He has Peduto's number. He won't be talking to secretaries. He won't be talking to chiefs of staff. He'll be talking to the man. DeLuca knows him. Everybody in city and county politics knows this man. Even if we only had him for a temporary basis, he could push the borough of Verona like steroids. Please don't underestimate the contacts that this man has in his Rolodex. So if we are going to do a full-time position for the borough in a management position, at the very least, we could try him on for a temporary basis, because he can call up the president of CMU and find out, hey, who's the hot shots coming out of the college right now that are doing planning for boroughs and cities? And they'll rattle off a couple of names. He'll say, hey, send a couple of those guys out to me. Because the president of CMU takes his call. The president of Pitt takes his call. He was a mover and shaker in city politics for 2 decades and has stayed a mover and shaker in county politics. Please, guys, don't pass up this opportunity. Anyways, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. Who's next?
Will be Kimberly Roller.
Hello again, everyone. This is Kimberly Roller, 853 First Street. I wanted to just kind of say thank you to everyone. I understand that tonight has been a bit of a marathon and not a sprint. So I wanted to thank you all for listening to the public comments tonight, as well as delaying the budget vote so we can all work on this together. Your patience, hard work, and dedication to this borough will not be forgotten. So thank you very much. Additionally, as many of you may know, I was recently elected the vice president of the Verona Garden Club. I wanted to thank you all for including the hanging baskets in the budget proposal, in the proposed budget proposal. And some of you might know we have been working on doing some holiday fundraisers. I wanted to let you know that that fundraiser is going exceedingly well for our first year of doing it. Additionally, we will have the last of our fundraising poinsettias, and I think we have a couple wreaths left on Saturday from 12 to 2 at the pavilion. Should anybody need a little extra holiday cheer in their lives, that will be available down at the pavilion again Saturday from 12 to 2. You'll see my smiling face if you decide to come down with a mask on and say hello. So thank you very much again, everyone. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and I hope that the rest of you have a lovely time with your families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Rhea Homa. Go ahead, Rhea.
Thank you. Hi. Hello. I'm wondering if anyone on council was planning on reading the comment from Obie and Jeff Morford. If so, I don't want to step on any toes, but otherwise I do have it in front of me and I'd be happy to read it on behalf of Obie and Jeff. Shall I continue? Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Obie and Jeff Morford, 735 3rd Avenue. Sorry we were not able to attend. Jeff and I are unable to be on the Zoom council meeting tonight because of health issues. Following are a few comments we would like to pass along regarding why it is critical that the borough manager position be restructured as full-time. In our absence, we would appreciate if this could be read into the record during the Zoom meeting tonight. A few of her items are no longer relevant, so I'll skip ahead a little bit. In order to provide a fair and equitable path for the success of the full-time new hire, council should require that the new hire sign a full-time employment commitment letter, agreeing to the stipulation that time spent during their full-time 8-hour shift 5 days per week be dedicated solely to the Verona Borough Manager duties. The letter should also clearly state that the borough must be notified and approve any other employment obligations outside of the 40-hour work week that the borough manager is engaged in at the time of application for employment or any time after they are hired. Failure to adhere to the terms of the full-time employment commitment letter at any time during employment would result in immediate termination. But I am putting the cart before the horse. The most important component in restructuring the position of borough manager to a full-time position is to first completely redefine the job description. I am happy to hear that a new job description is being finalized. With respect to finding candidates to fill that newly formed full-time position, I have firsthand knowledge of the work ethic and commitment of Doug Shields, who is the prospect that Nancy Carpenter offered up. As a paralegal at the Pittsburgh law firm of Reed Smith, Shaw, and McClay in the 1980s, Doug attended many of my management training classes, and he was outstanding. His dedication and success in accomplishing all legal tasks, both major and menial, was unwavering. It would be a plus for Verona to have Mr. Shields fill the full-time position as borough manager permanently, but we would be equally as valuable in holding the position temporarily until a new hire can be selected and transitioned into the permanent full-time position. Since we are unable to take part in the Zoom meeting, Jeff and I are requesting that a member reads these comments into the record of the Zoom meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next would be, hold on. Next would be Stephanie Garibay.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on what Chief was talking about with the South and ARB light and that being ran. I have a business on the boulevard. I witness it every day, the constant speeding, the constant passing of the double lines, people pulling in. You know, I've had to tell my own clients that they cannot pull in from the opposite side of the street, crossing that double line to park in front of my building. And I shouldn't have to do that. Like, there should be a cop that's, you know, that makes a presence. And I've said this, I don't know, last year, 2 years ago, I can't remember. I know I've had this conversation with council about having police presence on the boulevard and not just the net. So, I mean, it's not just center and ARB. It's not just south and ARB. It's all of ARB, all of it. From that viaduct till you get to McDonald's, it's entirely dangerous. So that needs to be addressed as a whole, not just one specific light, because it's not just happening at that light. It's happening across the board along that boulevard. So if we can get that addressed, we may be able to hinder that speeding and the red light crossing at South and Center. That's all I have. I thank you guys for your time. Jerry, I thank you for your time and efforts. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas, a happy Hanukkah, a happy Kwanzaa, and all of the above. Let's give 2021 its best. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it looks like Laura Jacko.
Hi, I'll keep it quick. Laura Jacko, 437 North Ave. I also just wanted to give my personal testimony to the work of Doug Shields. I don't know if he'd remember me or not, because he's worked with very many more important people, but he and I actually worked together on passing some ordinances over in Oakmont a couple years back, and I can actually personally attest to the fact that I found him to be, very knowledgeable, very professional, and somebody who I really enjoyed working with. So when I had heard that, he is considering, being able to even just do some fill-in work for us, I think we should all feel very honored about that. And I can, personally say from my own experience that he was, a delight, and I learned a lot from working with him. So I would definitely encourage, going down that path and pursuing that, and with gratitude that he would give us time to our little town. That is it. Thanks, everyone. Have a good holiday, however you celebrate. Take care.
Thank you. Anybody else, Jerry?
No, sir.
Okay. At this time, I'd ask that we have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make the motion, Pat.
Motion by Mr. Provenza, second by Mr. Suchovich to adjourn the meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Have a happy holidays, folks. I'll see you on the 29th.
Everybody, yes. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, Mary.
Jerry, thank you.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.